Bills fans, I'm not even going to attempt to lie to you. I'm not going to tell you a white lie. I'm not going to tell you a partial lie. The truth is, this was likely the worst season y'all will have in the last 5 years.
Shut up the Bills! It's not outside! It's not outside! Yeah, we the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, we the Buffalo Bills. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Reppin' the mafia, yeah. Reppin' the mafia, Bills, mafia, yeah. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Homie, now listen. Everyone play their position. Buffalo got a tradition. They say we tripping. They better get out our way. Top of the table, we flipping. We on a mission. Got an unstoppable team. Continue to follow your dream by any means. Buffalo, get in the Super Bowl ring. Cause we the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, we the Buffalo Bills. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Reppin' the mafia, yeah. Reppin' the mafia, Bills, mafia, yeah. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Mafia up in your city, time to get gritty. Screaming and yelling, we bugging. Look at the red and blue.
This is an MVP year for Josh Allen. As an MVP voter, I said this last week. Josh Allen, he looks like an MVP. When you vote for MVP, and I can speak for myself, I think I'm one of 50 voters, you look at a couple things. Who's the best team in football? Who's the best player on that team in football? What do they look like as the best player on that team in football? And how much talent is around that best player on that best team in football?
Welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast. I'm your host, Little 2K, and today I am joined by a special guest, someone whose content I try to get into as often as I can. Whenever I see it pop up on my algorithm on YouTube, I definitely tune in. This is Steve from the Ralph Rant. He has gotten me through multiple work days and afternoons at the port. I am appreciative of his work. Been looking forward to this for a minute and finally got an opportunity to get him on the Do Champions and channel and the Coast to Coast pod. Today, guys, we will not have Beyond. Beyond will not be with us as well. He's still, kind of making his way back from the East Coast back over to the West Coast because, if you've been here for a while, Coast to Coast is East and West. I'm the East Coast representative. Beyond is the West Coast representative, but we both hail from the great state of New Jersey. And, so Ralph, excuse me. Welcome, man. Welcome, Steve. How you doing?
Whittle, thanks for having me on. What an honor. Yes, it's been too long. We should have done this long ago, but here we are. And what better time? We've got a week and a half until training camp starts? Actually, 6 days, right?
Yep.
And very, very exciting coming into this season. And it's exciting to get on your show because I've had a lot of opinions on what I feel has happened with the Bills in this offseason. And that actually within hours of the end of that divisional playoff loss to Denver and what started with Terry Pegula's decision. And I'm excited about where the Bills are heading because I think this is going to be really, really different this season. But how you been doing? It's good to see you here.
Man, I've been good, man. I've been good. I can't complain. I've been working a little bit. The Heat, I'm not going to say working a little bit. I've been working a lot lately. The Heat is really kicked up a notch over here in Jersey. I'm sure you guys are catching it. I'm sure Buffalo's catching it. Steve, are you in Buffalo?
I'm actually in Southeast Michigan. I did grow up in Buffalo, and In fact, was there just a couple of weeks ago. We did actually a video stadium walk around there on Father's Day. So I was there for a few days then. And boy, the building is amazing. I live, of course, around Detroit, and I pity the Lions being the first team that has to go in for a regular season ball game there. I pity them.
Okay. I hear that. And yeah, I hear that, man. I don't know. I've made my we've done like season predictions and things like that. I actually have that as a loss for us. I actually have us opening the new season. Yeah, we've beaten them like 5 times in a row or something like that. And I just think at some point, Detroit's a really, really good team. Every time we played them the last few times, it's been towards the middle or the later end of the season, and they've had some injuries. And, we've managed to put up points on it, but also, kind of get stops, when we needed it. So I just, at some point, man, I just think at some point you can't keep beating the team, which is why I also have us winning week 1.
Well, I actually think the Bills go probably 4-0 to start the season. And I think based on some of what you're saying, I think they go into Houston and actually win in that building. And I think the Lions actually are in a bit of a decline. And we shall see. But going into that building in the first regular season game, with as loud as that stadium is going to be, is going to give the Bills an advantage. But I think the other thing you were mentioning is that how the points have gotten up on the Bills, and Josh Allen's had to play hero ball at times, perhaps. I think we're underestimating what this defense is going to be coming out of the gate. Jim Leonard is a genius, and he studied under Rex Ryan, and I think he is bringing something that no one is really expecting. We're not even going to really see it in the preseason. Preseason's all about, I think, individual efforts and how guys can execute out of the field with the lights on. But I believe we're going to see something really different from this defense. And I think based on that, I don't think teams will have seen it, but it's going to be a different attitude, I think, overall on the Bills. And that's why I'm excited about this season. I think Sean McDermott was actually standing on their shoulders, putting his weight on the team rather than trying to give them that last boost over, the wall to get to the Super Bowl. I think McDermott was great for bringing them from where they were, but as far as taking them to the promised land, so to speak, I think it's like the biblical thing with Moses, honestly. So that's why I'm excited about what the Bills, I think, are going to be able to do, because they don't have that weight and the rigidity of the process on them any longer, in my estimation.
Okay, so basically, if I'm understanding this correctly, I think you feel like we just need to take the governors off and just let the team go full throttle.
Unleashed. And I think what kind of transpired, I mean, with McDermott was great. And he came in and he was a relatively unknown prospect for probably not the most popular job in the NFL at that time, but comes into the Buffalo Bills. He wants to do well. He's going to turn over every stone, look under every pebble. He's going to find every answer he possibly can. And he puts all that effort into it, and he breaks the playoff drought. And with breaking the drought, it's like, well, this has got to be the plan going forward. So he's going to execute it and refine it year after year. We soon came to know it as the process. But I think the process ended up becoming rigid and inflexible, and it kind of held them back. And I think, moreover, also that McDermott's defense was great. It was very complex, and you needed a Hayden Poyer back. That's why Cole Bishop couldn't get on the field, because it's complex. This is not what we have now, but that was the case. And when you lost Hayden Poyer from being able to play, generals in the back of that defense and not let anything get by them, by chain reaction, a lot of it fell apart. And what I'm hearing is that McDermott had his hands all over the offense, trying to protect his defense, and that's why we ran the ball 52% of the time, second only to the Ravens last season.
Okay. So full disclosure, I was a McDermott supporter.
Mm-hmm.
I believed that the direction that McDermott was trying to take the defense was what we needed. Well, it just hadn't had a chance to. It just hadn't had a chance to like fully be birthed onto what we saw on Sundays. Now, 9 years as the head coach is plenty of time for you to figure it out. And I just think that McDermott should have moved a little bit quicker. I do understand what people are saying. I do agree that when people say, McDermott was kind of a bit of a control freak, because I don't think the offense has ever looked better than what it looked when we had Daboll. And I understand that there were some low moments with Daboll where we didn't run the football. There was a stretch where we went against the Jags and a couple other teams. I think that was the 2021 season where we had a really tough time scoring. And at one point, that team was like 6-5 or something like that. And then they rattled off a bunch of wins at the end of the year against some subpar teams. But I felt like you got the most out of Josh Allen because Daboll was there to not like hinder him, but to rein him in when he needed to be, and then to take the reins off when he needed to go off. And I actually really wanted Daboll to be the head coach, but I can't complain about Joe Brady either, because I feel like what Joe Brady's done with the offense, even with the limitations, you've seen some. I think you've seen some concepts and some little flashes here and there of how creative and how explosive the offense can be. And I'm going to shut up after this, and we'll go back to you. But in the Saints game last year, there was a fake screen, and it was Kincaid sells the block, and then he streaks up the sideline, wide open, throw him the football, and that's something that I've and it ended up being a touchdown. But that's something that I wanted to see the Bills do a lot more of, which was utilize concepts and formations and personnel groupings that they commonly use and just build off of those plays and be more explosive by, not just by design, but also through deception a little bit.
And I agree with so much of that, because that was Daboll. And I think what has happened here is that with McDermott gone and the emphasis being off of protecting the defense, Jim Leonard has this now. It's going to be very different. The math is different up front. This is going to be different. But on the offensive side of the football, I think Brady got stepped down a little bit as the season went on. We remember McDermott coming on as presser after the loss to the Patriots Sunday night, week 4, wearing those ugly-ass rivalry uniforms that the Bills wore that night with the shiny numbers you couldn't see in the lights of the Ralph because everything was reflecting. And he came out after that game and talked about Brady being cute on offense because the jet sweep that was supposed to go to Dawson Knox gets fumbled in Bills territory, and that threw him off the track for that game. And I think the offense got stepped on, but I don't think that we're coming in to this season looking at this being, Brady's offense now in full bloom. Pete Carmichael Jr. reminds me of a doctorate level professor from some university.
Yeah.
And I believe that Carmichael has got some things going on that he is installing into this offense. Joe's still going to drive the car. It's his car, it's his team now, but he's got a guy now behind him. And I think Carmichael is going to be amazing for what he's going to be able to pull off. We're going to see screen passes from the Bills now. Think Sean Payton's offenses from like years back with a lot of the Drew Brees stuff. But now, and we'll get to talking about the quarterback ratings in and Josh, of course, but Pete Carmichael doesn't have to use now like a Drew Brees or a Joe Burrow, who are very, very good quarterbacks, but are technicians. Josh Allen is an artist, and it's different. Josh is an artist, and I believe Carmichael is going to set things up for Josh where he has got a little bit more he can think about and consider post-snap and be creative. I think that's what they're aiming for. We've heard Carmichael talking about getting the backs the ball a lot more. We heard Joe Brady talk about that. We hear Carmichael talk about the tight end room that he loves because of what you're able to simulate, either in terms of run or pass, if you're coming out with 13 personnel. I think both sides of this ball have become very aggressive, both in attitude and scheme of what they're going to be pulling off. This is going to be a different looking ball club. And your prediction that they might, drop the second game of that first home one, you'd think that, but they got Josh Allen. And it's like Joe Brady says, we don't have to play them. They got to play us. They got to come play Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. And I believe Brady believes this and feels this. And I think there's going to be an attitude on this team and an attitude on the sideline like we have not seen in years, because this is going to be a bunch of dogs, man. And you saw Bill's sidelines in seasons past, kind of quiet. Josh gets the deer in the headlight look. Now he's got Bo Hardegree to come up to him and take him by the lapels and say, come on, Josh, snap out of it or whatever. And, we heard Brady say Hardegree's not here to be Josh's friend as the quarterback's coach. So I knew this would happen. I'm yakking and stealing time here. So, but
you're good, man. You're good. Like everything that you're saying right now are things that we've talked about on this pod. And I mean, we've talked about them because they've been issues, they've been problems, they've been things that I've wanted to see change for years now. I hated the moment Dayball left and, Dorsey became the OC and he sat in the booth, and it's just like every time you turn around, Josh Allen sitting on the sideline by himself. Nobody's over there talking to him. And I have my, like, Stephon Diggs is, was one of the great ones that we had, but and I got my qualms with him for that drop in the playoffs against Kansas City in 23. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I never believe in showing up your quarterback. Like, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in the military. You treat the people you serve with respect. I think that was a lack of respect, what you saw on the sideline against the Cincinnati Bengals. I didn't like it. I understood it, but I didn't like it. So we needed somebody else to do that. And I didn't really feel like it was his place. So I didn't really feel like it was Stephon Diggs' place to kind of try to, get in Josh's, whatever, to get him motivated. But, the head coach, the quarterback's coach, Deion Dawkins, another veteran teammate with, a little bit more stain in the game than Diggs. Poyer, one of those guys made total more sense to me than Diggs because of how Diggs can be viewed. But I would love for that to happen, because I think the best I've ever seen Josh Allen was early Josh, man, when he was like locked in and having fun and screaming on the sideline, and you saw the emotion, and we just haven't seen it. It feels like the last few years of Josh Allen playing has been like he's been, playing where he's afraid to make a mistake or trying his best to not make a mistake, and just instead of going out there and just being, and this is a Twitter nickname for him, being the white bison. Like we saw that video, the viral video right now, where the bison throws the guy up in the air at the park. Like, Josh Allen, go be that. Be that, on Sundays. And I think we can go a lot further. But,
I agree with that. Because again, I think McDermott's To me, it's all about attitude, Whittle. It really is. It's like you would hear McDermott at pressers. It's hard to win in the NFL. You have to earn the right to win. And Brady's like, earn the right, my ass. You got to come play Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. We're working our butts off. We have Josh Allen. We've got a professor on offense coordinating, Pete Carmichael Jr. We've got this silent assassin, Jim Leonard, the defensive coordinator. And I've got so much to say about Leonard. Leonard was such a find. But this defense is going to be different. Both of them are going to be dogs. I think the attitude coming out is going to be that. And I think you're going to see Josh Allen emerge as that. It's exactly what you're talking about under Daboll. It's still there. It's still there. The weight of the process and the weight of, McDermott over this team, with the pressure on him to get this team to the Super Bowl, that's gone. And it's not like there's confusion now there. It's like there's clarity. And I seriously think the Bills are going to, storm out of the gate, man, for sure.
I'm glad you mentioned the attitude, that the change in attitude, and that's a perfect segue for something that I did want to mention. Two players who recently have spoken in the media. One, Deion Dawkins. Deion Dawkins put out a tweet. And I know that, earlier in the offseason, Deion looked a little fluffy. He definitely looked a little fluffy, and it looked like, we saw him with a walking boot, and a lot of fans were on Twitter or on X were a little worried, like, oh my God, Deion looks like he's having trouble putting on the weight. He having trouble taking the weight off. Like, what's going on? What's up, dog? What's up, big dog? One of my day ones is in the building. Appreciate you, dog. Thank you for always showing up, man. Appreciate it. And now, I've seen Deion Dawkins had a charity kickball tournament out here in Jersey a few weeks ago. Went out there, saw him. He looked great. Looked like he was dropping the weight just fine. And and then you saw the video of him in the gym working out, and Ocho Cinco's there, and he looked really slim. And then Deion puts a tweet out. He says, "I'm going to play lighter than I've ever played since this is the lightest I'm going to play since my rookie year." And that, for me, I absolutely love that, because that means he's going to be quicker, he's going to be faster, and my God, do we need that with this schedule that we have this year? First week one, you're going up against the best edge duo in the NFL. We got Max Crosby on this schedule. We have the kid out of Hutchinson in Detroit. He's on the schedule early. You got Myles Garrett in week 6. That's a load early on. Like the first 6 weeks of the season, you're going up against some of the best edge rushers in the NFL, and Spencer Brown is like the mountain from Game of Thrones. He's just like 6'7", 6'8", 240 pounds, and he doesn't look like he looks like he's just built solid, and he's strong as an ox. Now, if you give me a light Deion with that foot speed, his quickness, his raw athletic ability, just like natural athleticism out there on the edge, I think we stand a chance against the Texans. I think we stand a chance of really giving Josh Allen the opportunity to kind of sit back there in the pocket, be comfortable, and make plays down the field. And there should be a ton of space available to make plays down the field, because you actually have a boundary threat who can win against some of the better corners in the NFL, and not just win the route, but actually make the catch downfield. No shot at Brandon Cooks. I think it was a catch too. But listen, DJ Moore, came up big for the Chicago Bears last year. He's been a consistent 1,000-yard receiver with really bad quarterbacks throughout his career. I think he's getting an opportunity to come to Buffalo. with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because he kind of just got thrown to the side by the Bears. And on top of that, he's playing with the number 1 ranked quarterback going into the 2026 season, Joshua Patrick Allen, one-time MVP, King of the North.
Who has DJ Moore played with?
Nobody.
Are you kidding me? Bryce Young? Caleb Williams? What DJ has, I watched some film on DJ. DJ's fast. He gets open. He's slick. He's powerful. And he does one thing that I have not seen any other receivers do anything like this. And that's his late hands. Because when you watch him catch balls, the hands are out like a nanosecond before the ball arrives. He is not telegraphing for like a second and a half or a second and a quarter. Here comes the ball. He's not doing that. He's like this. And what's going to happen is guys in man coverage that are looking at him and waiting for that reaction of the ball coming. I mean, he doesn't do it. It's like natural. I don't think it's something he even learned. It's just he is on the ball at the very last second, so it can't be anticipated that he's catching the ball. And based on that, he's going to be catching balls that some other guys, I mean, they're not going to be able to touch because of his reaction and how quickly and well Josh can get the ball to them. And when that happens, DJ Moore is going to act like gravity because he's going to draw attention to him. And you're going to get like guys like Khalil Shakir. And I'm sorry, Keon Coleman is going to be a force this season. You heard it here. Keon Coleman is going to be a force in the Bills offense. But you get all of this going. And then you've got Pete Carmichael also bringing back a screen pass, a real running back screen. That's part of the reason why Dion losing that weight, because he's told Pat Meyer, the Bills' new offensive line coach, guys, we're going to have a screen. We've got Ray Davis and Ty Johnson. My God. I mean, Ray Davis and Ty Johnson could kill on screen passes. Bills just never ran them, and McDermott never really allowed it. And I don't know how much of Joe Brady we actually even saw, what percentage of it was. But I don't think Joe Brady's concern is having it 100% Joe Brady. Joe's now the head coach. He's the CEO of this thing. He brought in an offensive coordinator. And I think Carmichael is like the most, as great as I think the two coordinators, actually, all three of them, Jeff Rodgers on the special teams too. All three of those guys, Jeff Rodgers, Jim Leonard, defense, Pete Carmichael Jr. on the offense. These guys are brilliant. They're freed up. You can tell they don't have a weight of a head coach on them that's telling them how it's got to be. They're brought in there as experts, and Brady wants to be the dumbest guy at the table. He wants everybody else with these answers. That's a perfect CEO, and that is why he has this job, not to create continuity so we still have at least an offense going while, the team changes because now McDermott's gone. No, he's the CEO of this. And he's brought in guys that I think are going to be really successful at what they're doing. And nobody knows this is coming from the Bills. People are expecting the new scheme on the defensive side of the ball, but I believe that the offense also is going to be markedly different, and it's going to be Josh Allen, the artist, that I think ESPN knows what the hell they're talking about. We were talking about the rankings earlier.
Yep. And I'm going to segue into that right after you did bring up the next guy I wanted to talk about. And then there's actually one more that I just was reminded of. But Keon Coleman had some comments about the doubters. And I am, listen, I'm one of the biggest, I'm probably the biggest Keon Coleman fan in Bills Mafia. I have vouched for this kid and put my stamp of approval for whatever that's worth. Put my stamp of approval on the kid when he was at Florida State. The moment he transferred from Michigan State to Florida State, I said this kid is going to be a really good wide receiver in the NFL. And I prayed that we got an opportunity to draft him. We did. We brought him in. I was very, very happy to get him. I'm not happy with his contribution so far. I don't think some of it I think has to do with, McDermott kind of having his thumb on, allowing the kid to play.
Yes.
But ultimately, I think so far he's been just as good as pretty much all the other receivers that were drafted in the same area of the draft that he was. So I'm talking about the year he was drafted. All the other guys that got drafted the same year he got drafted, I think it was the 24 draft, they're all pretty much around the same area except for Ladd McConkey. And Ladd didn't have a great year last year either. But I do think Keon needs to get more of an opportunity. I do think he can be more than what he's shown us so far. But the comments of, people criticizing him and hating, or he calls them the haters and things like that, saying that, none of these guys are going to lace him up and stand in front of me. And it's like, yeah, duh, bro. That's obvious. But at the same time, you have to understand what the situation was when you came in. Now, obviously, he wasn't recruited under the pretext that he was going to be the new wide receiver one in Buffalo. But it ended up being that because they traded Stephon Diggs that offseason. They didn't want to trade Diggs. The Bills didn't want to trade him, but they had to. He requested a trade. We got the picks that we got the best deal for him, and we moved on. I wish Diggs would have been there for that 24 year, which would have allowed Keon to be more of like a Gabe Davis replacement versus a Stephon Diggs replacement. And I think we'd view him a little bit differently if that was the case. But nevertheless, Keon, you got to be better in the media, bro. Like that, I just didn't love. I didn't love that. And it's not helping you, and it's not helping him endear himself to the fan base, especially the people who don't think he's a good receiver and want him off the team like yesterday.
Well, yeah, you can't argue with that, but I think what's going on there is that I think Joe Brady is assembling a team of guys that have attitude, and Keon's attitude, and some of the things he said are probably a little misplaced just because of how things were made so public in the past. But I think under Joe Brady, this is going to be a lot different. Because with McDermott, I had a real problem with McDermott making the public spectacle of Keon's discipline last season. It's like you can't get that guy across the table from you and look him in the eye and say, look, it's got to be like this without bringing it public. But on the other hand, McDermott, he also made it public with Diggs during the mandatory minicamp, which Diggs actually was there for, but having to come out and make a public thing about that. He had to suspend Shady, if you remember. Shady had a little bit of trouble going on. He suspended Shady for half a game. And then, and what did McDermott do before he ever coached a regular season game for the Buffalo Bills? He got rid of Marcel Darius. I've seen a pattern of this where I don't agree with how player discipline, however it may have been required, was administered. And when you're bringing it into the public, it's a different story. So I don't like how Keon has been treated from that standpoint a little bit. And I believe Brady when he says, look, Keon's ready. He's got an attitude. This whole team has an attitude. And he came into this league young. I do think, though, he is going to be a force for this team this season. And the Bills aren't going to get rid of him. You've got him on a rookie contract. And right. I think Sky Bell is going to be great. I think Sky Bell is really going to drive Keon some because Skylar Bell is going to be an impressive addition. And it's going to have the benefit of DJ Moore being on the same field. So,
yeah, I like the Skylar Bell addition too. While I do hope that it does push Keon to perform a little better, put a little fire under him. I also hope that it frees up Shakir to be used a little bit more as a receiver down the field.
Yes.
I love Shakir's ability to catch the ball in traffic. I think he's got great hands. He's got great contact balance. We just don't get to see it enough down the field. Bringing in Skylar Bell, who I did a good amount of film watching in the offseason about on him. I think Skylar Bell functions great as a slot. I have my questions about him on the boundary. I think that he's a bit small. I think he's a little small. I think he struggles with press, with bigger corners and press coverage. I don't think he has a really extensive release package for a boundary receiver. But I think in the slot you can generate more free releases for him, and getting him out in space, man. Like the kid is he's got an extra gear. He's got good hands, and once he gets the ball in his hands, he looks to get upfield very, very quickly. He knows what he's doing. He's elusive. He's difficult to bring down in space because of how quick and how he can change directions. And I think he's going to be a great addition. Him, Shakir, and Keon make me feel better. Feel a lot better about Josh Allen's second half of his career. Like I really believe that those three guys can kind of carry the wide receiver group going forward. And I know we have to see it first, and I'm definitely open to being wrong, but most of the time I'm just early. I'm not really wrong. I'm just early. So.
Well, I mean, it's a full receiver room for sure, and of course the Bills just got rid of one and brought in another 6'5" Quentin Skinner, and I mean that's interesting also. 6'5", 195, and it's another guy with attitude, and it's interesting to see what will happen with this receiver room. The Bills have kept 6 year after year after year after year, so I'm not anticipating that to change, although we do have a new regime here. But could that? I mean, who are you thinking? You're obviously going to have DJ Moore, Khalil Shakir, Skylar Bell is going to be here, Keon Coleman's going to be here. That's for
Palmer.
The Palmer definitely, and then who's 6 and maybe
spot,
7?
Yeah, 6 spot is probably. I mean, it depends. Like, I don't know what they're going to do with Mecole Hardman. I know I believe they signed him to a futures deal. So there's Hardman. Hardman is there. I mean, the kid that they just brought in. You still have, guys from the training camp. Guys that were on the practice squad last year, like Steve Gosnell.
Yep.
And the guys, Shavers is working his way back from tearing his ACL. So
he's probably December though, right?
Well, maybe. I mean, like a lot of people were saying that Michael Hoyt wouldn't be back until like October, November, but I think Hoyt starts the season potentially on the pup, but I think not the pup, on the short term IR, but I think Hoyt can probably start the season on the 53. He looks like he's going to get there. And I wouldn't be surprised. It would not shock me if Shaver shows up in October, man.
That would be great to see. Now you're talking about one of those receiver spots again there, because Shea's really proved himself last season for sure. And then as far as the rest of the receiver room goes, maybe they go 7, but it depends on who you're actually considering to be your returner. And I don't know if that's ending up to be a receiver. And we're talking about a punt returner likely. I think you see Ray Davis and Ty Johnson on the kickoff again, but punt returns would be interesting. That might be actually Bell out there early.
I could see Bell. The other one that's a possibility there is D. Alford. The offer might be back there as well. He did that. He did some of that when he was in Atlanta, and
and that's a new look. that's a new look for a slot corner rather for the Bills. And that's an indication of you're going to see sub packages in this defense, because Teron Johnson was like what, a hybrid safety, like, will linebacker maybe, and with that size, but having to take on linemen, having to fill gaps. I mean, D. Alford is not here to do that. D. Alford is out to be an annoying, aggressive player in the intermediate secondary, and I think that's the whole thing with this defense, is the aggressive attitude, dog kind of guy. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Geno Stone has that attitude. Chubb is ready to go. I love what Chubb said in his interview. It's like basically being told by Leonard, get off the ball and ask questions later. They're wanting them to attack. So, but I think that what you're saying here is true about what some of what we might see, and definitely then in the return game. Again, you've got Jeff Rodgers in as the new special team. So this is all going to be pretty interesting.
Absolutely. But so we'll get into a conversation starter that has really kind of flipped a bunch of fan bases on their heads over the last week or so. ESPN released their top 10 rankings for a few positions. Wide receivers out. I think the running back list was out as well. I think Cook came in at 7 or 8, which whatever. And then the quarterback list came out, and number 1 was Josh Allen for the first time in his career. And the only thing that was a little more shocking to that was Joe Burrow coming in at 4 and Lamar Jackson at 5. That was kind of shocking. But let's get into the Josh Allen at number 1 selection. Now, it wasn't a unanimous selection. It was obviously they use a composite where they have a bunch of different ratings that they votes that they tally up on 1 through 10, and they combine everybody's votes, and then whoever has the best composite grade, they get the number 1 spot. That was Josh Allen by a slight margin over Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes came in at number 2. I don't know how you personally feel about it. I get you. I mean, you're a Bills fan, so I'm sure you believe that Josh is the best quarterback in the league. I want people to understand that when these lists come out, these are not about career resumes. These lists are not about career resumes. These lists are about who is playing the quarterback position the best right now. And that means how consistent have you been over the last few seasons? How have your numbers looked over the last few seasons? And are you, compared to your peers and what your peers have to work with and what you're working with, where are you at? When you look at those things, I've always believed that Josh Allen was at worst the second best quarterback just because of who he's working with. And when you had Diggs, cool, he had the great wide receiver and all of that stuff. It was awesome, fine. The numbers were there. But even without Stephon Diggs, even without your number 1, or, even Gabe Davis is gone, even without your 1 or 2, still a top 5 offense. You're still getting a ton of production in the passing game, going to the tight ends, going to the slot receiver, going to the running backs, even taking shots. The guy's putting up 3,600 yards with Mac Hollins. Mac Hollins, Shakir, Coleman, these guys are not top of the line wide receivers. Like they're not getting any votes for the top 10. They're probably not even getting votes top 20. Maybe Shakir gets a vote for top 30, but Josh is still putting up comparable numbers to his peers, and he's working with considerably less or from an offensive weapon standpoint. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the quarterback rankings list, and just give me your thoughts on that.
Well, there's a couple of points. Number one, I have a problem with individual rankings in the league because this is the ultimate team sport. There's 22 men on the field at any one time, unless you're short a guy, not deliberately. And to think that you can single out what one player does in it, and yes, we do. And of course, we're going to continue to do that. But it's such a team sport that ranking people individually, to me, is a little ridiculous. Having said that, Josh Allen is clearly the best. He's the best football player in the league, period. Not just the best quarterback. He just embodies everything about being an NFL player. And as far as the quarterback rankings go, there's been enough hate and disdain of Josh that he has not been on the top of those rankings. And I think his now close move to being at the top of the rankings has less to do with Josh Allen and more to do with the fact that Patrick Mahomes hasn't been worth for about 3 years, really. And Joe Burrow, I'm sorry, for whatever reason, didn't get it done last season. Joe Burrow is a great technician. I think Patrick was an artist himself at one time. I think things have changed. And for people to think that Mahomes is going to come out, I mean, you're talking about right now, right? He had a horrifying knee injury. Horrifying. And he's talking about being out there week 1, and he might well be. But that's going to leave a mark. How teams finish at the end of the season is going to leave a mark. There's a mark left on the Houston Texans for how bad C.J. Stroud was in the playoffs. That's going to leave a mark and a bruise coming in to this season, which is in part why the Bills are going to actually win that game, that opener down there. But, as far as the rankings and the quarterbacks, I think it's Burrow has fallen off. Mahomes is fallen off. Lamar, they were losing or 8-8 with him, or less than that.
6 and 7.
6 and 7 when he was, a starter. I think it's almost like Josh got it a little by default because, the national attitude about the Bills is always ready to say the window is closed. Josh Allen is 30. Josh Allen is done. But when you're looking at it now and see that, well, the people that used to be, always considered number one in the rankings, be it Mahomes or Burrow being up there, or Lamar Jackson, or Justin Herbert, or Drake May. No. And Josh, I think, is clearly it, but I think it's not because he's clearly it in the national eyes. I think it's the drop off of these other guys that have actually put him there, by default, because of these other guys just not being, you can't rank them higher.
I have to agree. I have to agree with the trepidation of what Mahomes is going to be coming off of the injury, coming into the Chiefs, coming back to the Chiefs. And the Chiefs not, they traded away a couple of really good players. They let a couple of good players walk away, but they also drafted well. So, yeah, it may take them a few weeks to get, back into the swing of things. But I think the drop-off of Patrick Mahomes' play is a little bit overstated. While he has not put up, elite. I can't even say he hasn't put up elite numbers because I do think last year I believe he was like top 5 in passing yards and passing touchdowns and completion percentage and all of that before he got hurt. And I know even though he was doing, I think he was playing as well as he could given the circumstances of the rest of the roster.
Well, part of his numbers were because they couldn't run the ball, and
Right.
and I do think that, but I mean his numbers have been off for like 3 years, and
Well, what do you
I,
mean by off though? Like he's still, yes, he's not Patrick Mahomes from 2021. Like I understand that 2020 and 2021 Patrick Mahomes was a different breed of player, but the roster's different too. And I think what he's being asked to do with the teammates that he's been given, I think when you look at it, like I think he's doing enough. It's the rest of the team. The rest of the team has to put the offensive line has to play better. Their offensive line has to play better. I think Pacheco, they got the most they could out of him, but he had vision issues. And bringing in Kenneth Walker the third, I think is going to help. But Travis Kelce's old. He's old. He's old. Rashee Rice has been injured or in trouble. And Worthy, he's 6 feet tall, 165 pounds. Like I don't know why, even when the draft was when it was him versus Keon Coleman, I was so happy we didn't take Worthy. Like, yeah, great. The speed's awesome. He can't get off the line. If he has to play against a physical corner that can run a little bit, he can't do anything with that. So I just think that what's happening to Patrick Mahomes is he's starting to get the supporting cast that Josh Allen has dealt with over the last couple of seasons. And now we're seeing how difficult it is to produce at a high level when you don't have the elite level talent around you. Like Josh is still putting up great numbers against his peers. I also don't like the Joe Burrow that Joe Burrow's falling off. I don't think Joe Burrow's falling off. I think Joe Burrow consistently puts up big numbers. He consistently throws the ball well, and I get it. His receivers are awesome, and the offensive line is finally playing better. But, Chase Brown ran for over 1,000 yards for the first time last year. He is a very good all-purpose back. He does catch the ball out of the backfield and things like that. But outside of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, what else do they have? Like, let's be honest. The defense stank. The defense was terrible. The offensive line is they put together a solid offensive line for the first time in years last year. And the guys that outside of the two receivers, what does he have? Like, it's a bunch of reclamation projects at tight end. Eric All, who they drafted out of Iowa, he was hurt all of last season and missed all of last year. So he's throwing to Gesicki and guys like that. I mean, I gotta give Joe Burrow a little bit more credit. And then when he does play, you don't see I don't see a drop off in his play. I still see the ball snapping out. I see him getting the ball into spots where it needs to be. I think his pocket navigation is excellent. I don't see the drop off now. Lamar Jackson's a different story. Last year, Lamar looked like a different quarterback. From what he looked like in week 1 and week 2 early on in the season to after he came back from that injury, just did not look like the same player. The team wasn't good. They suffered some major injuries, poor coaching as far as their defensive coordinator was concerned. But you just didn't get the same. I just didn't get the same feeling. It felt like Lamar fell off last year. So him still being in the top 5, I get it, but I don't have an issue with it. And that's just where I'm at in that top 5, man.
Yeah, we have to look at just the overall season effects too. The Bills dented the Ravens badly on the Sunday night opener. Yeah. I mean, they never really recovered from that. And that stuff has an effect. Look at the teams that have gotten essentially blown out in the last 2 Super Bowls, Kansas City and New England. And we saw what Kansas City became coming out, after getting pounded by the Eagles in the previous Super Bowl. Those things at the end of the season leave a mark. There was a mark left on the Texans, and the Bills will take advantage of that down at NRG to open the season. I believe that. And, the Bills, fortunately, except for that loss to Cincinnati, the 27-10 in the DeMar year, and that was the day after Brittany trashed Josh's house. Yes, they got beat badly then, but they don't get clowned in the playoffs. And this is why, another reason why they come out looking good to start the year. And I think that'll be the case this year. But I think moreover, we're going to see, I don't think New England, I don't think they're going to be what they were last season. That was one of the third easiest strength of schedule in history or something that they played as a 4th place schedule last season. I know it's only 3 games different, but it makes a difference. And yes, part of their 10-game winning streak, game 2 of that came against the Bills. The Bills also ended that winning streak too.
Right.
So, but I think that has an effect. And again, the end of the season for Burrow wasn't great. And they're, playing in what was it was an interesting AFC North last season. I mean, Lamar's out for most of it. The quarterback situation is trying to solidify in Cleveland, and you've got Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. Well, I guess they're going to run that over again, and then Burrow, who was out for a bit again to the start. He had the injury, and he comes back against the Bills. Looked great for 3 quarters until got him right here. Until Mr. Benford grabbed that ball.
Yeah.
No, I think I pulled my headphones out here. Hang on.
No, I can hear you.
Process.
Okay. You can hear me.
In the process of grabbing that laminated ticket. Yeah, that's Christian after he returned that ball from Burrow when he snagged it at the line of scrimmage. So, but I think, Josh gets it by default. But I do think that Josh is positioned to have a tremendous year, because I think we have something that's back closer to, but even further than that from what we had with Daboll. Because Daboll was not the head coach and McDermott was, and there was I think there was some of this and
low friction, absolutely.
Yeah. And McDermott, of course, is the defensive head coach. That's just a thing, just like offensive head coaches. But I think this year is going to be really interesting, because I think they're going to turn Josh loose, and this whole team really, and I think so. I think the rankings are correct, but I probably think they're correct for the wrong reasons. Just like, if you're talking about the Ring of Honor, there's right answers for different sets of reasons on that same business. And it's the same thing with this quarterback ranking with, Josh being number 1. I believe it's the case, but I believe it's more by attrition, because some of the other guys aren't thought of quite as highly based on, as you say, what's going on now and approaching this offseason or this preseason.
Yep, I agree with that. I don't fully agree with the list being accurate. Like I'm fine with the top 5. You got all the guys in there. I know some people are upset about the order, but it kind of is what it is. I do think Drake May's a little too low. I think 8 was a little too low. I think he had a great year last year, and based on who he was playing with, like the receiving group, I think he did an excellent job of playing well. And I do agree with you. I do think that they will have a bit of a fall off, but I don't know if it's going to be a massive fall off. Like they won 14 games last year. I think they win 11 this year. I still think they're a good team. Adding AJ Brown definitely helps. I think they also added like Keith Byard or something like safety, so that'll help too. But not, I don't love their edge. I don't love their edge group. So we'll see. Like I still think the Patriots are going to be a thorn in our side, but I do expect the Bills to play much better, much freer, much more explosive than they did going, over the McDermott tenure as the head coach. But you brought up the Ring of Honor, and let's get into it immediately. We spoke about this. We talked about this before in this pod, but I do want to get your thoughts on O.J. Simpson not being added to the not being honored in a new stadium with having his nameplate brought over. I find it difficult to tell the story of the Buffalo Bills without O.J. Simpson. So not guilty's got to mean something. And I can't think of another reason as to why his name isn't being brought over other than that. So if you could share your thoughts, and I'm going to shut up and listen to you. Give me your thoughts on it, man. Go ahead.
Well, it's a difficult situation. I mean, I was at the very first game at Rich Stadium, the first regular season game where the Bills beat the Jets, and OJ was on that field. I saw OJ run at the rock pile. I created like this paper mache statue of OJ when I was like in seventh grade or something like that. The juice was awesome. That was a huge part of Buffalo, and he raised the level of the team when he was here, and that was a level that was pretty bad. We're talking about Kay Stevenson as head coach back there, and some others like that. Maybe even Joe Collier when he came aboard. So there's no question about that. There's also, there's too much smoke for there not to be some fire with the thing. I know there was the acquittal, but there was just so much there, and then so much negative pub that came from it. To the Bills' credit, when all this came about in 1994, or even in 1997, or whenever the civil finding was made, the Bills didn't at that point even pull his name off the Ring of Honor. They left it there for some 31 years after all of that went down. And I give the Bills a little bit of credit for that. Now, you do that by not acting rather than reacting. OJ's name is up there. It's the first name to go up inside the Ralph. That's 1980. It stays up there for 45 years, 46 essentially. And then they're going to tear down the stadium, and they're going to build a new stadium. And the new stadium has got a Ring of Honor, but it's only got a handful of guys on it. There's just Bruce, Kelly, Thomas, Reed, Ralph, just a handful. The rest of them have been migrated out to, and of course the guys like anybody else who was on the Ring of Honor, everybody from, whoever it may be, got their letters sent to them. Spider-Man got his, right? But OJ was the only one that was left out, moving out to where all of the names that were in the inside Ring of Honor now appear, which is in the family circle around the Bison. And the thing is, with the Ring of Honor, it's not really based on entirely just on the field performance. It's who's part of the community, and all of the guys have been that in some way, shape, or form. So when it came to moving it out there, though, and it's the family Ring of Honor, and it's not the Hall of Fame, which is more of a museum, and the Hall of Fame is by definition about what was done on the field, and guys don't get pulled out of that. Now, Joe Trier was a great offensive tackle with the Kansas City Chiefs that apparently was a murder-suicide with his wife, and he never got into the Hall of Fame. So there's never been really, a situation where somebody's been pulled from the Hall of Fame because it's always been about what was done on the field. And I think the Bills look at it a little differently, is not just what was done on the field, but what is the community thing about. But I still don't think the reason he was left out by the Bills was even that. I think what the Bills were facing is that, look, you've created this family circle, it's called. That's what it's called, with this ring of honor around it with all of these names. And the NFL is so against domestic violence, and certainly there, that was in the history, if not the conviction for murders, but all the other stuff surrounding the name. I think the Bills were kind of fearful of the backlash and insensitivity had they brought his name into it, which is why I think Pete Gwelly made the decision, and I quote, he said it was not a fit for the Bills. And it's a really tough situation. I talked with my brother Scott today, and we talked about the very thing, and we're both huge Bills fans. We've always been, and it's hard for me to take a position on it because I understand both sides, because I feel both sides of it. And I know that's an equivocal response. It's like maybe a cop-out, but, I feel the OJ thing. I was there on the Monday night, October 29th, 1973, when he passed 1,000 yards on his way to 2003. In Game 7, hosting the Chiefs, the Bills' first ever Monday night game. Bills win 23-14. Wow. I mean, I was there. I saw that. I was always about OJ, and the things that transpired in his life later are horrifying. Any one of them taken by itself, horrifying for him. And I just think the Bills had to make that decision. If there was a way that they could, and I don't know if they even thought about it like this, say, look, this is a part of our history. And, maybe that would be something as far as, the history of the team. But as far as the Ring of Honor goes, I don't think they kept him out because they're saying, well, we don't want you there because of what your history is. I think they were afraid of the backlash of including him. And if you want to call that, woke society, to me, woke is just being like honest. And with the way the NFL is these days, how it's against, domestic violence and so forth. And then some people turn around and say, well, what about Jim Kelly? He beat up his wife in the day. It's not documented. It's documented. He was never charged or, found guilty thereof. But you can make that point.
Yeah.
So it's a really tough situation, and it's sad because OJ was a big part of what the Bills were. The electric company, the juice, Reggie McKenzie. Donnie Green. You remember those days? Of course. And
I don't. It was before my time, man.
Oh man. It's seeing OJ break that. They were at the Jets in the snow, getting to 2003. And that's in 14 ball games, not 17. And he was amazing. And it's a tragedy of what happened. And you often wonder with, some of the actions that went on with him in his life. Did he suffer from CTE a little bit? There's something going on there?
It's possible. I wouldn't. He ran for 2,000 yards in 14 games like that.
in
the
those
equipment
helmets.
wasn't the greatest, right? Yeah, so it would not surprise me if they took a look at his brain after the fact and determined that,
I mean, it's. I just watched Concussion again the other night. I was laying around with the busted ribs, right? I'm gonna watch some movies and take it easy. And Concussion with Will Smith, comes up, and it's funny how I've seen it before, but it even had more meaning now. Just seeing what it was, and I wonder about that, and I think it needs to be who's the ball player that just passed away with that had a CTE diagnosis. The guy was 23 years old. It's just last week.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember the guy's name.
I know. I mean,
but there was Marshall. There was the kid Nealon from the Cowboys that took his own life last year.
Yes.
And so,
and I mean, it's a thing, and I mean, they could do as much as they want, but it's still, such a gladiator game, and and we do love it so much. It's the greatest team sport. I'd have to recommend to everybody, and here's a chance to do it right now. We've got a week and a half here, or almost before the rookies get in, and then the vet's a week after that. With a little time before the season starts, go out and get yourself a copy of Collision Low Crossers by Nick Dawidoff, who was got the doggies making some noise down there. Who was actually he's a journalist, a writer. He was with the New York Jets for the 2011 season. Rex Ryan, head coach. None other than Jim Leonard was a starting safety for that team, who spent his last 2 years in the pros under Rex. But man, you get such an idea of what this business is like, because that was the strike year, not the strike year, it was the lockout. And you hear actually more about the coaches in that book, but what a great book about inside the NFL, actually. But the one thing to point out from it, it's not the biggest feature of the book, but there's so much in that book about Bills defensive coordinator Jim Leonard, who was under Rex Ryan in the pros for 4 years and had notebooks full with pages full of all the stuff he learned from Rex. Rex, not the greatest, never will be considered anywhere near the greatest head coach, but Rex knew defense. And Leonard, I think, is bringing this. And, the biggest problem we have getting out of the playoffs was what? Pass rush, essentially. Yeah. As long as James Cook doesn't put the ball on the ground in Denver, last January, that first fumble, if that doesn't happen, we're talking a different story right now. But it did.
I'm talking about a blowout. That's a blowout.
Yes.
If he doesn't do that. We scored there. Scores 14-3. They're broken at home. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Yes, indeed. But aside from that, this pass rush business is going to be different. That what they're going to do on the interior D line with rotating guys in different positions, there won't be a dedicated nose. You might have 2-3 techs at a 5. You might have a guy shade of the center, and then the outside linebackers, we've got 5 guys in the line of scrimmage now. It was 4. Yeah. The math has changed. And if you can get a pass rush with 4, there's been teams that have been able to do that. And when they can, they're usually deep into the playoffs. We can remember Giants teams that beat the Brady Patriots. Philadelphia with Carter in the middle there, and the guy that went over to the Patriots this last season. And I mean, when you can get that pressure with 4, that's great. I think, though, the Bills in this setup with how aggressive they can be and having the change in math and having somebody like Ed Oliver no longer double teamed on like 65-70% of the plays, it's going to be a different story. So
I agree.
It's pretty exciting, I think. But yeah, again, Collision Low Crossers, I highly recommend it. It's a great read and a lot of insight into the NFL. It's very interesting.
So let me ask you, because you said he played under Jim Leonard, played under Rex Ryan. You think some of that's coming back? Do you think that this is going to be a blitz heavy defensive scheme?
No, I don't think it's blitz heavy at all. It's what it is that it's Ryan described it, and of course Leonard came to the Bills as an undrafted free agent, played his 2 or 3 year deal or whatever it was. The Bills let him go. He went to the Ravens, and Rex was the defensive coordinator there, and he played under Rex as a D coordinator for 2 years at the Ravens. Then Rex went in 2010 and 11, or maybe I forget, he was there 2 or 3 years, but Rex became head coach of the Jets, and Leonard followed him there. And Leonard was like the heart of those Jets defenses with his intelligence and mental agility, but he believes in defenses that are not complicated. He wants guys to be able to get off the ball and ask questions later. There will not be the depth of having to read and react that there was on a McDermott defense. This will be the biggest difference. And we've heard Deion Walker talk about this. We've heard Bradley Chubb describe Leonard as the silent assassin, because Leonard took everything he learned from Rex Ryan, and he got hurt at the end of both his last 2 seasons. And Leonard probably would have gotten a bigger deal, like an Eric Weddle, for example, had he not gotten injured. But he got out of football, and then he ends up going back to his alma mater, Wisconsin, and coaching the defense. And he was D coordinator there for 6 years and honed that craft. And those defenses were aggressive and, historic, essentially. And then he gets to the NFL, and now Brady's got him. And we're going to see, this aggressive, nasty pack of dogs. It's going to look so different. There'll be plays that get behind them, I'm sure. But the aggressive nature of this and how they are going to intimidate other teams. We have no idea what Greg Rousseau could look like, rushing from like a wide 9 and a true outside linebacker position.
Yep.
We don't know what that looks like.
And not having to deal with a right tackle every single play, or a double team from a chipping running back or a tight end staying.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly. And that's and it's the same with that. If they were interviewing Deion Walker, and Deion was talking about the fact there's going to be rotation, not in subgroups, but they're actually going to be rotating guys through positions. He might play a 5 tech or a 3 tech or play a shade of the center, and guys are going to be in different spots on the line. So a given offensive lineman of the opponents does not get used to any one guy and any one technique for the game. But then, moreover, they're going to, with the outside linebackers and drawing attention from tackles and tight ends. And Deion was asked, well, what's this going to be like for Ed Oliver now that Ed, might not be double teamed every play? And Deion was saying, and I quote, he says, I'm afraid.
The rest of the league,
I'm afraid of what Ed's going to do, because when Ed doesn't have that on him, he says, I'm scared. And it's not for me. It's going to be great for me, but I'm scared of what Ed's going to do. And this is going to be so different. And teams can think they know, but they've been dealing with McDermott's defenses for almost a decade. This is going to be different. And Jim Leonard, I think, is going to be scary good at this. The only problem is Jim Leonard's going to end up being a head coach in like 3 or 4 years max.
I don't know if it even takes that long. I think we have him for this season and next season, and then the suitors are going to start coming. Start calling. So
I believe
But
so.
listen, that's where you hope that whoever the guys he has on his staff, he trains them up. I know we have the secondaries coach from Oklahoma. He
Yes.
brought him in. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. He may end up being the defensive coordinator after Leonard's out of here and get after Leonard gets his head coaching opportunity. But I do agree. I do agree with what you're saying, and I'm less worried about plays getting behind us and giving up big plays because I think the offense is going to put so much pressure on other teams because we've been a top 5 offense for the last 5 years. Whether it's points per game or whatever, DVOA, whatever analytics you want to look at, the Bills offense has been elite for the last 5 years, no matter who's there, wide receivers, Diggs or no Diggs, Davis, no Davis, still the team, the offense has been elite. So I'm just expecting the offense to stay the course and continue to put up points. And I do think that because there isn't as much of a overbearing personality like McDermott over top of the offense, I do think that we'll score more efficiently. So that's going to help as well. I think you'll see bigger plays, and and listen. And one thing that I am great, I was happy to see or hear was James Cook. This I think it was today or yesterday, speaking about the Bills winning the Super Bowl, and he said, it's on us, it's on the players, and this is the first time I've heard. This is the first time I can remember hearing the players take that type of accountability for this. I've heard them, say hey, we just got to execute better here and there. When you say things like words have meanings, so when you say things like we need to execute, to me, I think you're taking a shot at the coaches a little bit. I think you are accepting responsibility, but you're also putting a little bit on the coaches. So, and then the way they speak after McDermott's gone, they say, oh, well, things are being simplified a little bit. We're going to be able to play faster. And they look like, they look happier, Deion's got the watermelon challenge that he's doing all over the place. And the young guys are running around and the vets are there. And the work ethic was never a problem in Buffalo.
No.
I just feel like, oh gosh, no, come on, Bills Mafia. I'm sorry. No.
No, heavens,
I'm sorry.
no.
Yeah, no Ayuk, no Diggs, no, just no. None of those guys. I think we're fine at receiver. We score plenty points. The problem is in the playoffs, let's not give up 31. Let's just not give up 31 in losses. Can we not play teams that give up 31 points in the playoffs? If we could do that, we'll win a lot of games. Or we're going to be able to trust Coleman to fill that role. I don't think it's just Coleman. I think it's a combination of Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir picking up some of that outside, that boundary work. Joshua Palmer being healthy and being able to contribute. Skylar Bell's gonna have to, and listen, the tight ends have been productive, but at the same time, you are getting DJ Moore, who I think is a 70 to 90 catch receiver this year, and anywhere from 11 to 12, 1,300 yards. I think he's going to be that good. I think the offense is going to create that much space for him to work. And just by the way we run the football, if we can continue to run the football with 2 tight ends on the field, you're going to get one-on-one matchups for DJ Moore. Josh Allen will air it out, and I believe DJ Moore will come down with the football. But
absolutely. And
getting back,
I think it'll be a prolific passing year. I really do.
where we at? Where you think? What do you think? I took the over on his passing yards.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I hammered the over. What are you thinking? 42, 43, or 4,000, 4,100?
No, I think on the higher end. The Bills are not going to run the football as much this season. Both Brady and Carmichael Jr. answered the same answer to different questions when they came out and talked about, well, yeah, James, that was great last season, but we're going to look at this thing week to week. They're not saying it's not that they're trying to limit him. They're just going to do a lot different than that. And I think the Bills will be throwing the football more than they run it this season. I think they'll still use the running game. I think Carmichael likes the idea of big people. He likes running 12 and 13, which he's going to be able to. I mean, if you've got, certainly if you got Kincaid,
yes, sir,
staying in there, and I think Jackson Haas. I mean, that guy, I think he's got potential to do Kelsey type of shit. Pardon the expression. I think he's got the capability to do that. And if you could run 12 and 13 and having guys open and Josh having layups available to him, then yeah, you could be able to run the ball and be really effective with it, but just not to have to give him like 20, 25 carries. And
right.
And I hope they stay. And it sounds like that is what they're interested in. They want to involve the other backs some more. I think they want to throw to him. We're going to see a running back screen game for the first time in forever. Yes, and this is going to be pretty exciting. I do not see them falling off. I think they were being held back in so many ways for so many reasons that I've actually kept the last thumbnail up on the board here. You know, the Brady's unleashing these guys, and I just think it'll be really, really exciting to see how it starts. And I'm glad they open on the road, definitely, because of having only the 8 home games. It's like you get that road game out of the way, and now you've got your even number of home and away contests, and what ends up being the rest of it is a 16-game season. So I like that. I also like that the Bills do not play a single team coming off a bye or a mini bye the entire season. No one has got that big rest advantage on them. They have some stretches where they're playing a number of games in a shorter span because you're talking about the holiday games at that time of year. But the fact that, I mean, they're playing both Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? So, but they
no international game though.
Yes, this is exactly correct, and I'm glad to see that. And they don't have anybody with a big rest advantage over them. They've got like 7 rest advantages to 3 disadvantages, and the disadvantages are merely like, you know, a one-day type of thing or extra travel or whatever. So I think this could be, and I don't see any reason for them not to go deep, because we just saw 2 teams in the Super Bowl that had a second year and a first year head coach,
right,
respectively. And so for people to think that, oh, it's a brand new head coach, he's going to be over his head. Why? He's been there. He knows this team. He's brought in great coordinators that are using what's here and putting it together effectively and smartly. And I just don't think they're afraid of anything. And I think there was fear on this team before. I don't think anybody is afraid of anything now going into this. So we shall see. We're going to see soon. It's getting started right quick.
2 weeks. Yep. 21st rookies report, 29th veterans report.
Absolutely.
And finally, with those guys reported, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna get the training camp going, and you'll get those guys at St. John's Fisher. But they're gonna cut their time at St. John's Fisher short and come back a little bit earlier, back to Buffalo and Orchard Park, and they'll have a couple of practices in the new stadium. 2 of those practices, they'll open to the public. Obviously, one is going to be the blue and red scrimmage. That is a season ticket holder event. And then Joe Brady makes the decision that we want to have another public practice open to the public for the non-season ticket holders, non-season ticket holder fans. And that caused some issues with season ticket holders, which I understand, but I just don't. I understand what their gripe is. I just think it's really in bad taste to actually make a gripe about an off-season practice that's available to non-season ticket holders, because it's not like Bills Mafia is made up of just season ticket holders. I felt like the season ticket holders were crying a little bit too much. What are your thoughts on this back and forth?
Well, my biggest problem with it is that the season ticket holders didn't lose anything. It was an additional practice. It was not like, oh, you had this practice. Now we're not letting just you come. We're allowing the general public to come. And I've seen on many of my stadium videos about guys bemoaning the fact, and rightly so, me included, what are chances of getting into that stadium? And, yes, it's expensive, and people are looking at, the secondary market for these early tickets. They're not going to stay at that level. But, I think that, once again, it's one of these things where there's 2 sides to it, and you can kind of see a little bit of it. First of all, I don't believe it's corporate entities that have come and bought up all these seat licenses. It's not. It's fans. There's things in place to prevent that from being advantageous for somebody who's just willing and putting those seats on the secondary market. So if you got a guy that, with those first seats that they installed, that thing they did last year, first 6 chairs they put in, the guy that had actually paid for the PSLs for each of them, I think he probably paid like maybe $6,000 a piece for those. And okay, so he's got like 6 seats, $36,000. He's got to, go and get a second mortgage or something on his house to do that. Well, I mean, these guys were spending half that on one season's pass for that season anyway. A season's ticket was going to be, $3,700 per year in those seats, and you're just talking $6,000 for the seat license that you have then for 30 years, which gives you the right to purchase those seats. You got to purchase them every year. So yeah, it's an investment, but that amount they're paying for the PSL actually is not that great an amount once you look at the year after year cost of going to seeing the Bills. And if I lived there, I'd have probably figured out a way to do it. You could set up, even a little thing with some friends to, get together and, go see a few games each or something. So it's possible to do. And so I see it from the season ticket holder standpoint that, look, we're not corporate guys. I mean, we're guys that have had season's tickets. Like I know guys on Twitter that have been going to the games for years. They just went and found a way to do it. And, they put down money. Pagula needed the money. He had to make so many loans to pay for the stadium. He paid for over half of it. And anything that goes up, it's on him. And, as far as people, the tax money, yeah, there was taxpayer money from Erie County, but there was a bigger chunk actually from, the state of New York, but people bitch about that. But that money actually came from the Seneca Nation, who paid overdue monies to New York State for operation of New York State's casinos that Seneca Nation was performing. I don't know why this stuff wasn't paid, but it was a windfall of money that they managed to get their hands on, and that went to the stadium. That's how Kathy Hochul set it up. So as far as taxpayers paying for this. No, it's mostly Pagula and then partially tax money. The split on the stadium cost, it started out at what, 1.7 billion. That was 850,000 a piece. And Erie County paid 200, and New York State was going to pay 600 for their 850. And Pagula came up with his 850. But it went from 1.7 billion to 2.26 billion. All of that extra, that's all on Terry Pagula. And then there will be those that say, well, yeah, all right, he had to pay for it, but he gets to own the thing. No, he doesn't own it. Erie County doesn't even own it. The stadium would be owned by the state of New York, owned and operated by the state of New York. And Pagula paid for over half of it. State of New York owns it. Pagula's got to pay back to lease it. But, of course, he leases it because he can fill it up every week. So, but the thought that taxpayers are getting screwed, I'm glad that there is a practice open so people can get into that building and experience it, because I think that building's going to be amazing. I think it's the most amazing new stadium in the league. It will be the loudest place in football. There's no question about that, with the reflective panels of this canopy above Bill's Mafia, and it goes completely around the stadium.
Yep. Keep all of that sound inside.
Oh, boy. And it's going to reflect down. People that say, oh, we should have had a dome, would have been louder. No. If you have a dome, it bounces back and forth. Go to Ford Field. You know what they have up in the ceiling of Ford Field? Blankets. Just like I've got above me in my studio. It's blankets to keep it from reflecting. So a dome stadium is not loud. This is going to be sick. And when I was there doing that video, the walk around, we were at one spot, other side of Abbott, looking at the Ralph undergoing demolishing, and they had these little like areas that were like covered, and they had the same thing over on the ticket booths on the other side of the road. And I noticed above that the covering was with the same corrugated, I don't know if it's stainless or whatever metal the panels are, but this shiny, smooth metal. And I'm standing underneath one of those, and I'm hearing my voice echo from it. And it's like, 3 feet away. In this stadium, there's over 1/3 square feet of this panel above the fans. And there's no way for the sound to get out the end zones or anything like that. It's going to be loud. And so, I mean, the season ticket holders, the PSL take was what, $263 million or something like that came into it. So that's about 12% of the stadium. Yes, they paid their money. Yes, they sold a lot of them. Yes, they'll get to go. Yes, a lot of other people won't be able to. As far as them bitching because people go get to see a practice that wasn't even scheduled for them to begin with, I mean, give me a break. I'm with you on that. But they but I don't think the demographic is going to change because it's all corporations that bought these PSLs. That's not the case. It's going to be Bill's Mafia. That's not going to change.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that it remains. I'm hopeful that it remains kind of like what it was. Like, I was able to take my son to a game last year for the first time. He just turned 16, and we went last year to the Philadelphia game. Mm-hmm. Tough game. We lost, going for 2. Josh did not play particularly well that game, but the weather sucked too. Like, it was cold and rainy, and that was when I learned. That's when I made the decision that I was going to get season tickets. Was when my son, they were sitting there, and we could not find a seat in the house higher than the upper deck, and we were at the top, like the top. That was the only ticket we could find.
Sure.
I asked him, I said, listen, I know it's raining, it's kind of cold. Do you want to leave? And this was like third quarter, and he was like, no. And I was like, you sure? And he's like, yeah. He's like, let's just go get a blanket so I can cover myself up a little bit more, and then that's it. And he had rain gear and stuff like that, but it was just like cold and the wind and the rain is like blowing it. So that was when I said, okay, I'll throw my name in a hat for some season tickets, man. And hopefully I get called and get an opportunity to get them. I'm gonna get 2 for me and him, and and then whatever games we can't go to, probably give them away or whatever, secondary market or whatever. It depends on what's going on or who. I don't want anybody. Like if I could put somebody in a seat, I would do that because I've had season ticket holders do that for me.
Sure.
I was at the Ravens game week 1 last year. I was at the Ravens playoff game in 2024. I was there for that. I was at a few games. One of the games I went to, I sat so close, man, I could almost read the play sheet. And that was because my buddy Lee Sean gave me his ticket. And we swapped tickets. And he sat a little further back, and then I sat up close. And he didn't have to do that, man, and I appreciated that. So, looking forward to getting into that building, and hopefully, man, I get to see you there, Ralph. But we're gonna, excuse me, Steve. I keep wanting to call you Ralph.
No, Ralph is fine. I just confuse stuff by saying my name. I just laugh because like I said, I never refer to myself as Ralph. It's like the Ralph. And it's kind of almost kind of silly, but it's like George Costanza referring to himself in the third person on Seinfeld. The Ralph thinks this and the Ralph thinks that. So it's kind of funny.
I would love to get you and my guy Dale together on the conversation. Man, Dale goes back to the Rock Pile as well. Born and bred in Buffalo. Hilarious. Like he's one of the funniest, coolest people I've met on social media. Big time Bills fans, man. I think you guys would. I think it'd be great to sit back and just listen to you guys talk about the old stadium and the memories and the snowball fights and King of the Hill and all of those different things that those of us that don't live in the area or not from the area, never got a chance to experience it.
Oh yeah, it's. Absolutely. And that sounds like a blast. This has been a blast. And we need to do this time of year because we're getting ready for the news cycles to start and we need to get our positions established.
Absolutely. Real quick, before we get out of here, there was a question posed about Khalil Shakir with the addition of DJ Moore. What are your expectations for Khalil with the addition of DJ Moore? Steve, I'm gonna let you take this one, man. What do you think?
Oh well, Khalil's gonna be scary. I mean, we know what the air yards per attempt to him just dwindled to next to nothing last season. That's based on how that offense was set up to go for whatever reasons. We don't need to get into those. But with DJ Moore coming in, I mean, just the opportunity for Shakir to get open a little bit further down the field. We've seen what he can do with yards after the catch when he's catching a bubble screen that's maybe 2 yards past the line of scrimmage. What's going on when Josh is hitting him 8-10 yards downfield? And this is where this law of gravity with the attraction that DJ Moore is going to create. And even with the other guys, because I think you're going to see a number of guys effective, although it's not going to be everyone eats was never a positive sort of commentary. It was sort of negative. Oh, we're calling it this because we don't have the cats. So everybody's going to be a cat. I think it's different this season. I think Shakir is going to be a force. I mean, there's a number of guys. I mean, Shakir, we'll see if Joshua Palmer comes around. But I think this opens up things for Keon, and then I think even Bell. We're gonna see. I think it's going to be a thing where we see some things out of rookies, and guys that we haven't seen as much of, like, Shakir even last year. And it's going to be like, oh, they're a different player. Where has this been? And it's because of how things are being run and operated, especially when you've got like, Shakir, who's so good. And essentially was much of what they were trying to accomplish with the number one. He's not a number one, but boy, if you could have him, and he's like a Robert Woods used to be, that's going to be that. I think Shakir is going to have a huge year, and again, I think the Bills will be prolific throwing the ball. I think where they were the biggest rushing offense in the league last season, most attempts, most yards, the rushing title, second only to the Ravens in frequency of running to passing. I think it flips this year. I think they're throwing the ball a lot more. I think this is built around Josh Allen, and just by proxy, you're going to have Khalil Shakir doing that much more than we've seen of him from in the past.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully, Buffalo Mafia man, that answers your question. Real quick, I'm going to throw this out there. I think Shakir will hit 1,000 yards this year.
Yeah.
I think we will see Shakir. I think we will see Shakir work a little bit more down the field, because of the things that you talked about earlier. Steve, with taking the restraints off the offense. Shakir is. When I first saw Shakir, I saw shades of Stephon Diggs. I know that's really, really high praise, but Diggs is so good at the catch point, and he's so good in short area, like being able to separate in short areas and just kind of make himself available at the very last second to make a play on the football. Diggs is really good at that. Shakir's been really good at it as well. I think Shakir is really good as far as like obviously yards after the catch, and it's because of his frame, not just his frame, but there's like this thing on Madden, what's called like ball carrier vision, and I just think some people are better at it than others.
That's right.
When you get the ball in a guy like Shakir's hands, he knows where to go upfield in order to maximize his yards. He's smart. He takes great angles when trying to evade tackles. And I like one thing about Shakir that I noticed that you also see from Diggs is they rarely take big hits, right? Like when they're in a position to avoid a big hit, they do that. So I think that's also going to help. Shakir's been very, very durable. I expect that to continue. I expect it to continue because I think less of the pass production to the receivers is going to be relied on by him from a catch standpoint. But I do think his yards will increase, even if it's slightly. I think his yardage production will increase, but I think what you'll see the biggest jump in is his yards per reception. I think that's where you'll see the biggest jump, because I think he's going to work downfield a little bit more. I think he's going to get more opportunities to go up against weaker defenders, and I'm looking forward to it, man. Like, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Well, I think, and part of that is going to be that Pete Carmichael, the Bills' new offensive coordinator, is going to feature the running backs in this passing game more. And if running backs are more of a threat to catch a swing pass, or if they're running screens, for example, that's going to clear out some of these intermediate areas where, Shakir's had, slot corner on him or a faster outside linebacker, and they're coming down on top of him with a safety also. Especially with the Bills being such a threat to run, people were bringing safeties in closer, which is why they couldn't get the ball downfield really to Shakir. It was crowded up front because the threat wasn't there. But I think it's completely different this season, and I think Shakir is probably going to be a huge beneficiary of that. And we could time will only tell, but I think Pete Carmichael is going to have a bigger influence on what this offense is going to be, and it is not going to be just Joe Brady V2 or whatever you want to call it this season. Joe's driving the car, but he's got a new mechanic working on the car.
Oh yeah, and it's got a little engine upgrade to it because no more restraints. We're hitting the fast lane at 90 miles an hour, and I don't care if you're in front of me or not. If you get out the way or get run over. Now we have another guest that's coming on, the El Presidente for the Do Champions Network, student body right.
I appreciate you,
sir.
How you doing? Ralph Rant, very powerful voice. Very powerful voice.
Well, thank you so very much. I'm glad to hear that.
I'm guessing that's a lot of years at the Ralph and the Rock Pile.
Oh boy. Well, I just visited the Rock Pile once, but it was cool. I made a bet. I was young that the Bills would win. They were hosting the 49ers. John Brody was playing quarterback for the 49ers, but Brody gets hurt during the game. And who should come in to play quarterback for the 49ers but Steve Spurrier?
Wow.
Future coach of the Gators. And but the Bills won that ball game 27-20, I believe. I never got paid on my bet, though. It was unfortunate. But the last time the Bills were on a grass field and until coming up here this 17th of September. At home, anyway, on a grass field.
So how do you want me to refer to you? Because I actually have some questions for you guys.
Well, my name is Steve. The Ralph thing is the Ralph Rant. There's a long story behind it, but my name is actually Steve Salter.
Plug the Ralph Rant. We'd love to hear it, man.
Well, that's absolutely. Thanks so much for that. Yeah, the Ralph Rant on YouTube at the Ralph Rant. It started off as a music channel, but then right after Josh was drafted, I didn't have any subscribers really, but I made a video predicting Josh's greatness 2 weeks after he was drafted, but then I never did another thing until a little over a year ago. And now the Ralph Rant is got a lot of good support. We're up to about 2,150 subs or something like that. And
congratulations.
Thanks. I have a lot of fun with it and just enjoy talking Bills. And I've got some different takes on some things, and I've been known to rant some also, so I guess that's kind of the idea. But yeah, just YouTube is great, and what a great time of year, right? Coming into the preseason. And
well, you said it started as a music channel, so let me pose you this question: is Mr. Brightside going to be left at the old Highmark Stadium? Because you can call it the Ralph, you can call it Highmark. No one's ever going to call it New Era Field. But is this the time to kind of retire Mr. Brightside, being that the Ralph Rant started as a music channel? Or how do you feel you take over those kind of little nuances with the Bills Mafia fans?
Well, the Bills better be careful with that decision, because if they do leave it behind, there will be undoubtedly talk about how OJ was left behind also. But actually, I think it comes over. I get it with the song. I was never really there at a game with the song. I used to play the song in a band. I didn't like the song particularly, but it's cool that it's part of it. And I think it does have to come over, because the new sound system is 96 tons of speakers and 32 installations around the underside of the canopy. So I think we'll hear Mr. Brightside like we've never heard it before in the new building. Yes.
Whittle, I have a question for you. A very pointed question. Has Josh Allen become too important to the Bills' identity? Because every great organization, I think, kind of faces a choice. Build a system that elevates the quarterback, or a quarterback that has to elevate the system. Which one do you think it is?
I think we're getting away from Josh Allen having to elevate the system as much. I think adding DJ Moore now I think that makes Josh's life a little easier. Teams were able to sit and teams were able to press us. They were able to play man one-on-one. They did not have to double team anybody, which allowed them to put extra guys in the box. DJ Moore forces you to either put a linebacker underneath and have the corner play, off coverage, or attempt to jam at the line and then have the safety over top. Because if you don't, Josh is willing to throw it. DJ Moore can run under it and catch it. And I think this is just going to create a lot more space. I think adding that level of receiver and deep threat gives a control of how the offensive game plan goes back to the offensive players and the offensive coordinator, versus last year was really just kind of like, what is the defense going to allow us to have? And we're going to take that and we're going to magnify it. I think now instead of needing Josh to be great all the time, I think there are going to be so many easy buttons for him because defenses have to play it straight up. So I think we're getting away from relying on Josh as much and just giving him an opportunity to play quarterback and be great at times instead of being great and playing quarterback sometimes.
Steve, to you, it looked like you had something to add to that.
Well, I feel like the biggest change with the Bills this season is attitude. And I said earlier in the show that we used to hear it's very difficult to win in the NFL, or you've got to earn the right to win all week. Well, true enough. But I think the attitude that Joe Brady is bringing to this, and what we're going to see on both offense and defense as far as the attitude of play, the attitude of guys that have come in. CJ Gardner-Johnson is asked early on in OTAs, so what made you, why did Jim Leonard target you to come to the Bills? And he just answers, because he wants me to be mean. There's an attitude on this team with dogs, and I think
I could not agree with you more.
That to me is the biggest change with this, with Joe Brady saying, we don't have to play them. They got to play us. They've got to play Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. There's a mindset change that has occurred with this ball club. And I think there's going to be an attitude and enthusiasm on the sideline for the Bills that we've not seen in a long time. There's no other team in the league that had both D and O coordinators up in the booth all season. Because I think...
Is that true?
Yes.
Wow, I was not aware of that.
A lot of teams might have the offensive guy down there, but or up in the booth rather, and then a defensive guy on the sidelines. But we never saw with the Bills. We never saw a defensive coach gathering linemen around, or people stepping on, like even Chrome, getting on the offensive line. We never saw somebody come up and grab Josh with a deer in the headlights look when things weren't going right. And I think that's all going to be different this year. I mean, what did we have last season?
It's a great point, actually.
I mean, we had this was it the whole season. McGlasses with the headphone. McGlasses with the headphone. And
I love good prop.
You never saw him get in anybody's face. We rarely saw him get in the face of even a. Let me get rid of these so I can hear myself again. We didn't see him get in the face of referees. He didn't talk to the team in any such way. There was just no enthusiasm on the sideline, and it was all about attitude to me. And I think we're going to have a situation now where it's like Brady said in his opening press conference, "I'm the weather, baby. You're going to feel me all the time. It doesn't matter if it's coffee or an energy drink. I mean, he is going to be the temperature of this team. He's not going to be stepping on it. He's going to be unleashing it, as we see here."
Now, with that, do you think a lot of Bills fans are confusing urgency with panic? I think every offseason kind of becomes a referendum kind of on the franchise's future. And honestly, the reality is that contenders kind of don't rebuild. They recalibrate, The challenge is really recognizing the difference between a flaw that needs fixing, I think, and a flaw that simply comes with competing at the highest level. Have we equipped the team with some of these things? And do you think, at the penultimate question, are Bills fans confusing urgency with sheer panic in the way we assess these teams in the offseason?
I definitely think so. And I think this probably happens in a lot of cities where people have their opinions about the teams coming in. You'll find some of the most critical fans, the ones being nearby. I think Bills fans have an extra added sort of something going on with that based on, the history that led up to McDermott and since McDermott. There have been people out there that refer to these kind of negative fans as, negative Nancy's or Debbie Downers. Debbie Downers is one of my favorite, but Debbie it's not to use a girl's name. We don't want to be sexist here or anything like that. Debbie is an acronym, DEBBIE. It's Drought Enhanced Buffalo Bills Insecurity Effect.
Is that like boy, I love losing Super Bowls?
Well, there you go. There you go. And there's a new area code in, Buffalo 044. And, it's that one came out a long time ago, actually. That was the Super Bowl record, I think, 0-for-4. But I think there's that worry. But I think there's an urgency on the part of the team and on the part of Brady, not so much of a pressure I think that's being applied from outside. It's the knowledge of what this team actually is and can be. And I think with all of its impediments, the weights it was carrying around last season, having a defense that was trying to protect, or an offense that was trying to protect the defense, rather, by running the ball more and more often and for more yardage than any other team in the league. A Josh Allen offense running the ball, I mean, that was protecting the defense. I think this is the whole, I go back to the attitude. There's a different approach and attitude, I think, this season, but it's not so much about, there's no panic. I don't see that at all with them. I see them as like, yes, you get rid of that weight and let's put this weight aside and let's not make the defense so complex that young guys like a Cole Bishop can't get on the field until like the end of their rookie season, even though he missed a lot of training camp with an injury. It's because McDermott's defense required the mental agility that a lot of these rookies wouldn't have. And so people start, complaining, oh, why didn't we, draft Cooper DeJean instead for our defensive backfield? He picked off Mahomes on his birthday and ran it back for a tutty in the Super Bowl. Well, it's because McDermott's defense, I think, was so complex. So I think that's going to be different. The defense is going to be far more reactive. They're not going to have to worry about the crowd being a little quieter so they can communicate like we saw at times with them last year, because communication was tough after we lost Hyde and Poyer. And on the offensive side of the ball, I think Carmichael's going to finally turn Josh Allen into an artist. And it's like Will was saying earlier, in terms of having more layups available for him, more choices, more things Josh can do post-snap to be creative like the artist he is. And I think we're going to see such a completely different Bills team. And the urgency is not so much, oh, we better get to the Super Bowl so our fans don't hate us. The urgency is like, dudes, we've got the team. Let's just get this done. Let's get this done. Let's make these changes. And I think that is what the attitude is with the Bills. And I don't think there's a bit of panic on the fans' part. There's always going to be the worry, and at times it'll be irrational. I probably,
damn it, I have like no points to add to this. I was waiting for him to slip up at some point or something like that and give me something to disagree with. I think you nailed it, man.
No, he's locked in, man. He's locked in for sure.
Well, let me ask both of you guys, because one of those key components to winning is if you truly believe that special teams are a third of the game. I put up this tweet this week that says Tyler Bass enters camp as the incumbent, but this is probably the most vulnerable his roster spot has been since he was drafted. You notice he's wearing number 16 in that jersey. That is because of the incumbent wide receiver number 1, DJ Moore. Caught a little flack for that, for editing proper numerical graphics in there. I'm a uniform guy. So guys,
I like it. I love it.
Being said that, do you truly believe this is the most vulnerable we've seen, coming off the groin injury, coming off the unreported metacarpal contusions and fractures in his right kicking foot? He's on a big contract, guys, which he restructured last year to keep him more palatable, to keep him on the team. I'll leave it open for him. Whittle, I'll start with you, though. What's your thoughts? Well, special teams a third of the game.
Oh, yeah, like special teams is important, but I think special teams is really important. It's more important that you don't screw it up more than it's important that you have to be great at it. I think the Bills' offense is so good that as long as you just don't screw up on special teams, you're okay.
I would argue field position matters, though. You duff a kick from the 40, that's bad news.
Yes, field position does matter because it does make the offense easier. However, when you have Josh Allen, James Cook, and now adding DJ Moore, and like I really, really like the addition of Pete Carmichael from a schematic standpoint, from a creativity standpoint, and from a spacing standpoint. Like I think he will do a good job of getting guys in space a little bit better than what we've seen over the last few years. So I do think that with these additions, the Bills are going to score no matter where you put them. I mean, we've seen it already. I just think it's going to be way more efficient now. I just feel like special teams, you can't screw up. Like, if we call you out there to punt the football, don't shank it. If we call you out there to kick the field goal, I feel like it's going to be rare. You can't really miss. Like, you're taking less field goals than most kickers in the league. I think you just kind of got to be on point. And Tyler Batch has never been higher than 90%. He's never been above 90% in his career from field goal kicking. So I just think as long as we don't screw up, as long as we're not turning the football over, as long as we're covering, kickoffs and punts and not allowing teams to get cheap scores, I think that bodes in our favor because of the offense that we're going to have.
Steve, do you? Anything to add?
Well, yeah. As far as Tyler Bass and his job goes, I mean, look, if you can fly in a guy on a red eye from Arizona and have him come in and kick in that Sunday night opener in the form of Matt Prater.
Prater, yeah.
41 years old. Matty comes in and just is like solid. He's money. And if you're able to pull that off, that just, in a sense, that devalued the kicking position on the Bills so much. Not because Prater wasn't good. It was because he was easy to procure and he was great. And you just had this confident feeling. And no one can say that they had just such a confident feeling when Ty Bass was coming out after a certain point. And the injury, especially with this pelvic business he went through that we heard more and more about. But I definitely think that, there's just because the Bills were able to do what they did with Matt Prater last season, bringing him in like they had to, it's like you can go into this and go, well, look, I mean, how worried are we going to be about if we have to replace him? We were able to get a guy over 40 years old to come in 2 days notice to play a regular season opener.
Well, he does. Yeah, he does have a 4-year, originally signed a 4-year, $20.4 million extension with us in 2023. That deal ran through 2027. After missing, all of 25 with that hip groin, what I've heard is some problems with his metacarpal and his right kicking foot.
I hadn't heard that. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be a little more inside the business. If I know that to be good info. He did take a $1.5 million pay cut. He received $1 million guaranteed, and he can earn $1 million back through incentives, which reduced his cap hit, I believe, from $5 million to around $3 million. So his kind of new cash compensation ends up around like $2.45 million. But the interesting thing about Bass is he's 84.5% field goal percentage, and that's pretty solid for NFL starter territory and he's also almost 70% from over 50. So the issue isn't volume misses. It's kind of that, several of the misses came in high leveraged moments. I think most notably that kick against Kansas City in the 23 playoffs.
Yep.
That one has kind of shaped public perception, more than a dozen, times a day, on Twitter. So I kind of think that restructure is like, we think Tyler Bass is our starting kicker, but we're not paying him like an unquestioned top tier kicker until he's kind of proven healthy. But through all of that, Buffalo lowered the cap hit, added solid performance incentives, and kind of maintained flexibility while giving Bass a chance, to cement the job in 2026, I think.
I think you need to do that because we have to remember the good kicks. We have to remember the 61-yarder against the Dolphins. We have to remember the winning kick at Detroit at Thanksgiving. It's the same game that Von got hurt. But the other thing to give consideration to is for everything that's said about Tyler Bass, he has kicked half of his football games at the Ralph.
Fantastic
Windy Ralph. And that is now different. The canopy is 110 feet over the top of the field level where it comes in at the center. The wind confusion thing with the Buffalo Charges, of course, that's the cutouts on all the exterior panels. They're all precisely the shape of the Bills swoosh on the side of the Buffalo. But all those perforations, what they do is they mess up the boundary layer of wind coming against the building. Rather than sliding along like Teflon, these cutouts create these little eddies all the way along, and the wind cannot stick to it. And then once it gets up to the top, going around the shape of the canopy, it's all turbulent above, and that means it's not in any one direction. It's not going to be windy down at field level, which means that Josh is not going to have another wind game where, when Mac Jones came in here and, throws the ball 4 times and beats the Bills. Or it's not going to be a case of goalposts blowing sideways or, Bass having to battle winds on a longer kick. I think it's going to be pretty doggone calm. And I think that is a consideration that actually has to be, made for Bass, kicking such as he has in that stadium before. Now he's across the street in this building where I think the wind profile is totally different.
Whittle, I got a big question for you.
Oh.
The case for Matt Milano re-signing after training camp. Matt Milano is exactly the type of veteran who doesn't really need camp to prove he can still play football. He's 31, spent virtually his entire career in Buffalo, knows the organization, knows it in and out. He is playing with a different defensive coordinator, a different defensive mindset. Bills have linebacker uncertainty. Milano has a very established strength and skill set. And kind of the market has spoken about their wants outside of one Bills drive. If you were the Swami rubbing your Celtics crystal ball, my friend, where do you see Matt Milano placed this season? And is it at one Bills drive?
I don't see him back. I think that they're going to go for I think they're going to go for a different body type, definitely a different availability type. I think at this point, if you're going to go for with Dorian Williams being kind of a smaller guys, Dorian's what, 6'1", 6'2", 225 pounds. Terrell Bernard's a smaller guy. Caleb Williams-Orr is a little bigger, but these guys are you got to get some more size. Bobby Wagner's out there. I know he's 38, but he didn't play terribly last year. Jermaine Pratt's still available. He's got a nose for the football. He's on the bigger side, and he's extremely smart as well. I don't know, man. I just don't see it because of the injuries we already deal with when it comes to Terrell Bernard. Signing Milano, who's often injured, it's just not like it. I just don't see it. I don't see it, and I hate that because I love that, but I just don't see it.
Steve, you?
Well, it's difficult to say a little bit. First of all, people that are judging Milano, and this is kind of next to a larger point where I did a show a couple weeks ago and just talking about what some of the national thought processes were on the Bills, and Warren Sharp was a good example coming out and what he anticipates for the Bills. But he's talking about Buffalo, and especially on the defensive side, he's talking about like Greg Rousseau and the number of sacks he got. Well, Greg was playing like a 5-tech or, outside tackle all season. He was not a stand-up outside linebacker in a 3-4. So to try to look at what was going on in the previous season doesn't really follow. And so you look at Matt Milano from that standpoint, and, the Bills were running a 4-man front with the 2 linebackers. Those guys had to fill gaps quite a bit more. That's why you've got a Terrell Bernard getting hurt like that, because they're a little bit more of a, sort of a hybrid, almost safety size that you might want to have in a sub package in a Jim Leonard type of defense. Milano, though, he could fill the gaps well. I mean, if he could stay healthy, I think it's going to be a little bit more of a situation of where linebackers do not have to contend with linemen quite as much as they might have previously, because the Bills are now running the 3-4, where the 4, those 2 outside guys are actually line of scrimmage. So again, it's going to be different. And I who knows on Milano, but I do think definitely the Bills have demonstrated that they are interested in getting more aggressive attitude, sort of apex predator types of guys on the defensive side. CJ is a great example of that. Like Whittle, you just said, Caleb Alarms, or, we're talking about nasty dudes with attitude. Chubb is going to be attitude. I mean, Parker, it's going to be so different that trying to look at what a player was on this Bills defense last season starts not to play so well when you're really trying to get an idea. In some cases, we don't have any idea what guys could be like in this defense compared to what they were. But having said that, who knows? Milano, might also be a guy that's not interested in off-season stuff, and is at the age where, he's going to go jump on a team that's, ready to start him with him right at the beginning of camp. So, or, part way through camp, who knows? But I think the Bills are definitely looking for, this aggressive style. I mean, if you had a younger Shaq Thompson, and a Caleb Alarms, but the idea of the faster sideline to sideline, smaller linebackers, I don't know if that fits into what Jim Leonard wants to do as precisely as it may have with Sean McDermott's defenses.
Whittle, can you bring up the Super Bowl thing, please, real quick? I got to go off real quick.
Oh, this is what happens. You wake up at 11, almost 11:30, with nothing soft to lay next to you, so you get on YouTube.
I mean, to bring this up is like the equivalent of showing up to a business meeting with a fax machine. Like, congratulations. You have identified a historical event. Now try forming an original thought. The funniest part about like these punchlines is that people using it think they're delivering like a knockout blow, and they're not. They're pulling out a dusty VHS tape off the shelf and acting like they've discovered fire. We lost 4 Super Bowls. Yes, they did. They also got there 4 times in a row. Like, do you know how many teams that would trade their entire franchise for that problem? I mean, most NFL teams would kill for the burden of being the second best team, congrats, Pats, in the world 4 consecutive years in a row. You did it once. And they're celebrating like they won the Super Bowl. Like, it's the ultimate just nonsense. It's like making fun of Michael Jordan because he lost playoff games because he won championships, or criticizing Tom Brady because he didn't win every Super Bowl. I mean, the expectation of perfection is like a fascinating disease to me. And apparently losing before winning is only embarrassing in Buffalo. Look, nobody cares. The stocks moved, the company grew, the market changed. Update your thesis. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah. They think this is an insult, but you're going to one of the most historically fantastic achievements ever. And the fact that the Bills went through all this and they go from the hunter to being hunted, and then you go to your analytics to a division rival and you grab a joke older than half the players on the roster and scream it louder and louder, hoping volume compensates for originality. I mean, nobody's impressed. They're just wondering why. I'm wondering why you're still holding this position. You should probably find a new argument. DVDs have replaced VHS and emails have replaced fax. I mean, they do it because it's the only insult Buffalo has. A lot of teams have no response to Josh Allen. They have no response to a decade of relevance, and we have so much to look forward to that we're not looking in the rear view mirror. That's why the windshield's bigger. All I wanted to say.
I mean, there was a point in that somewhere, but I think we'd have to dissect his comment letter by letter by letter to see if there was even a hint of one. I mean,
I gotta take a lap.
Unbelievable.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's whatever. Like, I don't know if the guy's expecting us to crash out or whatever. Like, dude, it's almost midnight and you're up trolling a live podcast for a rival team. Like, if I don't have anything have anything soft to lay next to was a person, you definitely become the definition of that. So, I mean, enjoy your socks tonight, man. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by. But anyway, Ralph, man, we're gonna cut out of here pretty soon. I appreciate you popping in, man. Thank you so much. I definitely would like to have you back on next week when we talk about preseason. We're gonna definitely get into the rookies, some expectations, some potential roster moves that we'd like to see happen, and we'll pick our we'll pick our what do you call it? Our training camp darlings before training camp starts. So yeah, we'll get that done next week, and I'm hoping that you can come back. If you can, I will definitely send you the link so you can join back.
Count on it. We could say it right now. I love doing Wednesdays, and
Steve, you've been fantastic, man.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It was an honor to be on. And
absolutely. If you could just plug it one more time where everybody could find you, so we could get that out to everybody who may not know where you're located.
Absolutely. And I don't know how I ended up with the Ralph Rant V. I just changed that lower third on the screen there. But it's at the Ralph Rant for YouTube. And just search the Ralph Rant. You will find me. And then also it is the Ralph Rant 716 on X. But I've got a lot of content out there. I think I'm up to probably almost, I think I've got 95 videos now. So I'm getting close to 100 from what we've done. And yeah, I've got strong takes on it all. And I've got a lot of belief. But I've got, I think, good reasons to believe. So I'm going to keep on putting it out there. But thanks so much for the opportunity here tonight. What an honor being on the show.
One last question. And once again, guys, you can find him here at the Ralph Rant 716. For anybody interested, this has been fantastic, guys. Record positions as you see it right now. Out of a cannon, record prediction.
13 and 4.
We did not practice this.
No,
we did not practice this at a time. We did not talk about this.
Nope.
You guys are non-believers. 14 and 3, and I definitely did set that up.
Wow.
Yeah, I
14
think,
and 3. Okay.
I think they're going to do well, and somewhere out there, there's an undefeated season waiting, and this is the kind of team.
Wait, what? Whoa, wait, hey.
This is the kind of team that could possibly have a look at that. It depends on how it gets started, but I think I went through the schedule before. I didn't make predictions, but I'm not as impressed with the array of quarterbacks the Bills will face as a lot of people are. And I'm basing that a lot on, I think there's perceptions about guys that just aren't true. And so I don't think the gauntlet is quite what it is. And I think the way this team changes is going to take some teams by surprise. You never know. But I do think it's way over the 10, and I like the 13 and 4 or the 14 and 3. I could see that also.
If I could steal one last question, because I know we're winding this down, and it's been burning, and Whittle, I haven't gotten a hold of you for it. Jackson Hawes. Could he see the type of action and be an adequate replacement for a Reggie Gilliam? The way he's so diverse, he's so good running 7-take. He's been nothing but high praise from a guy like Aaron Cromer, who we will sorely miss. I mean, speaking with Travis Clayton. By the way, Travis, I'll clip this for you. I am very sorry about England, but it is not coming home.
Oh my God.
Travis Clayton was actually in the Everton Soccer Academy. So he's proper English football. He did make the transfer to the defensive line. We were chatting today, and I stopped texting him during the game. But do you think there is some parity there, Whittle, with Jackson Hall and Reggie Gilliam? And how to make a baseball analogy, he's a multi-tool kind of player because he caught balls when he was supposed to. He was that lever we could pull for the dump off when protection breaks down. And also, he's a big enough body to play in condensed space and be a multi-asset in motion behind the line of scrimmage, whether in, I guess you could call it, is it still 12 personnel if Hawes is lining up is it because he's technically a tight end, or is it 22 personnel? I don't know.
Exactly.
But also, Gilliam played a ton of special teams.
Yeah. I mean,
weird one, I know.
I don't know. That's tough. Like, I want to say yeah, but I want to say yes, but at the same time, I need to see it first before I can commit to it. I just don't know if I just don't know how well he can fire off. But no, he can, because he did it at Tech.
Steve, I'm gonna watches a lot of football.
I'm gonna say yeah.
Well, I think Joe Brady.
He did play some H back. He did play some H back in college. So yeah, I okay, all right.
I think Joe Brady's already said
Whittle. That's Whittle in the lab working out everything live on air, guys. Steve, go ahead.
We already heard Joe Brady answer this question when he was asked about Gilliam and asked moreover about the fullback position on the team. And he's basically saying, we're not saying we need a fullback. We've got some guys in camp. Jackson, or I forget his name.
He played for the Patriots last year. We essentially swapped fullbacks, basically.
And it basically, I mean, he's saying, well, they're going to have to see it in camp. There's going to be a fire hose thing, but it sounds to me like he is not intent on having a fullback in this offense, and I think it's precisely for the reason you stated. Jackson Hawes is demonstrated as being the best blocking tight end in the league. He is a threat on the offensive line to chip or block or chip and catch. We saw him, catch the fourth down from Allen during the comeback against the Bengals at the Ralph last season.
And for him to get high praise from Aaron Cromer, Spencer Brown, Dion, Josh.
Oh yes.
I mean, Cromer, to get that type of high praise from Aaron Cromer, which truly I do have some nerves about that. Just in talking to Eric, talking to Alec about, Tommy Doyle, they all went to his retirement party out in California. He was that respected. Mitch was there.
Yeah.
For him to sing that high of praise for essentially a rookie role player, that's incredible. But I do hope that we've found adequate tutelage to replace Aaron Cromer, because there is not one person I've talked to who matters, who doesn't think that he was the best outside of Jim McNally, who's retiring from UB in coaching, another legendary offensive line coach there. Even Teddy Cottrell saying Cromer is just the best at scheming him up.
And I think Pat Meyer, though, is probably as good a protege for Chrome as you could think of. And I'm hearing great things about what Meyer is doing. Of course, he's got the continuity with everywhere except the left guard, and we'll see what that becomes, if it's Alec or if it's
AA.
There you go. And
you got to bring the nasty.
That's the thing. That is the thing with the attitude. I mean, he
was basically given, and this is little personal relationship. He was almost like he was given one, and by that I mean you get one attitude inflicting gesture or action. You're not going to get 2 15 yards, but you're given one just to set the absolute tone.
You bet.
He is a dog. That's why they put him in the mid-level on kickoff return. I remember still when that ball, we almost fumbled. We almost gave it up on the kickback, and Alec recovered it. And he tells a great story on my podcast about his peaches were getting grabbed by somebody in the pile, and he quickly identified who it is. And he said, I was trying to collapse their trachea if they thought they were going to take this pigskin from me.
Wow.
It's the nasty. It's the nasty.
That's what Brady likes. And the thought of Clayton over, I'm so glad to see that happen. And I'm surprised it didn't before, but I feel that McDermott, and as complex as he has to make defense, it's going to be, he's going to make it difficult for a guy. He made it difficult for Cole Bishop to get on the field, let alone Travis Clayton. But I'm wondering if we see Travis Clayton in the middle a little bit. I mean,
he did have a little undercover labrum surgery the last year of Tommy Doyle was on contract,
right?
But he's an athletic guy. I mean,
yes.
he ran like a high 4.6 something. He played at the Everton Football Soccer Academy in Europe, and he's on the last year of his international designation. So why not give him a shot?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think you might see something surprising again, because it's not McDermott any longer, and I think Brady. I mean, it's kind of obvious to see that defense would be such a different, especially in this defense, for a guy that would be able to go out and attack and not have to have maybe the mental agility that was required with years of experience in McDermott's defense. Boy, that could really be a neat thing. And
also, it was probably really tough for him rotating from the practice squad to getting in any reps, because it requires such continuity in running duo, in running take, and running tray. You have to be confident and there has to be little bits of nuance if you're running guard and you have your tackle next to you, or if he's getting a couple snaps at center, not having firm placement in the ground with the soldiers he's going to go to battle with probably made it increasingly challenging, not to mention him having to scout, for that next team thing. I mean, I remember he did get a couple reps last year when we were a little short bodied on the defensive line, running scout defensive line. And I don't know if that's where it clicked or anything like that, but maybe this is like kind of an ancillary thing, because, he's without the international designation, he might be considered an ordinary cut prospect, but for him to just take that all with such grace, and from everybody's feedback that he's a great locker room guy and he has such fantastic athleticism. I mean, maybe this is kind of like a cool little thing we can root for. Very much ingratiated in what we do root for as Bills fans is the blue collar, make it happen when your back is against the wall.
Well, all the talk of, the Bills, who are going to sign for the nose? Is there going to be a nose? We're going to sign DJ Reader, or is there somebody out there? Of course, there was rumors about Jalen Carter a couple of weeks ago because he's having trouble with that. What about TC in the middle of this defense? I mean, that to me could be so much with this size and agility.
Last year, that horrible Harry is not on the roster.
Right.
I mean, not like there is desire for him to come back on his end. There is desire. The way he was traded from Minnesota after just building a house, he named a captain, given an extension, just traded in the middle of the night. That's so tough on a fan. It's so tough on everything. It's also going to be really tough on people in your neck of the woods, Whittle, because ESPN is officially covering games. I am. People were going banana land over that. People are calling it Canada's team is now broadcasted in metropolitan New York City area. Sweetie, I'm not going to give you the stunning geographical fact of where the Bills are located in the New Jersey, but hey man, it's a primetime team. That's why we have primetime games, and they should be taking up primetime airwaves.
And the Jets and Giants stink.
You probably caught so much flack that they're going to be all over the airwaves, aren't they?
Oh no. I'm using this as leverage to attack people. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on, bro. That's the only team that plays in New York. Don't talk to me about I can't believe New York is airing Buffalo Bills games. It's the only team that plays here. It's the only team that plays in New York. I'm in Jersey. The Jets and Giants both practice and play their games in New Jersey. I've
The
been
Jets
to
still
the
at Florham
Jets
Park, right?
office
There's,
building. I've been there.
That's exactly where they are. Florham Park.
Right. So I've been to their training camp. I've been to their practices. It's in Florham Park. I take Route 24 to get there. It's as Jersey as it gets. I promise.
It is North Jersey. And my buddy Tommy Attiano, he played with me at Monmouth, and he played on the Vikings. Has a great spot if you ever get over there, Will, again, called Calabria. Dave Portnoy gave it like a 9.1 to plug them a little bit, but like
where is it?
It's in Florham Park.
Okay, pizza spot. I'll check it out.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, Steve, once again, great to have you. Sorry to hijack the show. It's just
No, what a blast! This turned out so cool.
I hope we can get you to commit to come on again, man, with my real studio setup and everything like that. And Whittle, this is the most composed I've seen you. Did you get all your hate out on Twitter today, or like you're turning over a new leaf?
Yeah, I've turned over a new leaf. I'm fighting less. I'm fighting less now, and I'm just kind of letting people crash out. Raven fans have been very irate since the quarterback list came out, and I understand. Joe Burrow and Josh Allen both being ahead of Lamar Jackson really hurts them.
Where did Lamar Jackson end up on that list?
Number 5. He's the fifth quarterback out of.
Would you take Lamar over Joe?
No.
What about you, Steve?
I would not. If I'm going to build an offense that's predictable, I mean, Joe Burrow's the best technician in the league. And a technician is great if that's what you want. I'll take Josh Allen, the artist, over a technician. But if you're going to have a technician, Burrow just puts the ball where it needs to be. And
I think the one thing Burrow has over Lamar is that Burrow has a very good mastery of, just because you can throw the ball there doesn't mean you should throw the ball there, which took a lot of years for Josh to learn. Hero ball, cowboy ball, there's moments for that, but just because you can doesn't always mean you should. It's course management, risk mitigation.
Yeah, well, it's the mentality, the mindset of a guy who lost his opportunity to play at Ohio State, goes to LSU and sees some success and says, "Okay, you know what? I have weapons. I'm going to utilize them." And he's very, very accurate. He's very, very smart. I think his pocket. I think his navigation of the pocket is the best out of the elite quarterbacks. I think he's better than Mahomes at it. He's better than Josh. He's definitely better than Lamar at it. And Lamar and Josh and Patrick Mahomes are masters in the pocket. Like, I think they do a great job of knowing when to go, where to move, when to reset, and they get their arm angles together to avoid, defensive line. Like, I think they're very good at it. I think Joe's just a little bit better. And he has to be because he's less of an athlete.
I would really love to see someone, whoever it is, and I don't think it's going to be Knox, it could be Kincaid, to get on that wavelength that Brady had with Edelman and that Mahomes had with Kelsey, where if a play's extended, there's the nonverbal physical cues of a little bit of playground ball, going a little off script when the time and situation calls for it. Everybody credits Gronk as being Tom Brady's kind of utility guy, but when you really look at it, it's kind of like the nonverbal cues of Edelman to break things off early, knowing when pressure's coming. And I don't know if there's anybody on that roster with that type of rapport that's evident, where there can be an element of good, annoying playground ball, because that's what it really is annoying.
This is part of what we've heard coming even from Keon Coleman, where the talk is about him. He was trying to be technical and run that route, that 15 yards and out. But, hey, maybe you're breaking that route off at 11 yards. You've got to be aware of what your quarterback is doing and so forth. I think that kind of approach is going to be more promoted in this offense, because I think the idea of Pete Carmichael is to take advantage of this quarterback who can be creative post snap and not do it in such a way that, oh, we're just like doing amazing things off of broken plays. No, let's have a post snap situation where there are options that come up the way the thing is designed, and that there's always going to be some kind of a layup available for Josh. And I think based on that, you're going to get back to a situation where it's kind of like what he had thrown to Cole Beasley when
I literally took it off my tongue.
Beasley was always right there. I mean, the third down or whatever, you could count on him getting that 7 yards if needed. And I think that's what this offense is going to become, because, and I think it's going to be kind of designed to let Josh be more creative, not just pre-snap, but post-snap. And if you can be creative post-snap, that's 4D chess now. That's through the looking glass.
One of the things I hope for Shakir, because Shakir makes you defend every blade of grass, especially the unders and 10 yards in, but most of his creativity comes in the yak yards after catch.
And if
I think you saw flashes of the playground ball from Keon Coleman. I think that's the one. I think that's the guy who's going to develop that big play from broken plays. I think he's going to be the one that benefits.
I want him to be the annoyance, like like when Patrick Mahomes in his heyday dropped back. It's like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. With Josh, sometimes it's like by 3 Mississippi, the ball's not away. It's like, oh shit. But with Mahomes, if it's at 3 Mississippi and the ball's not away, it's like, oh shit, for a different reason. They might bust one. You know what I mean? It's a dichotomy of personal and emotion watching the game.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you'll see it. I think you'll see it a lot more. And I mean, and when I say the flashes, like in the Jets game, you saw him make the play where it was kind of a broken play. Josh just kind of flings it to the opposite hash in the back of the end zone. Keon goes up and gets it. Against the Ravens, the ball gets tipped.
That Ravens play is creatively brilliant. And that's
exactly.
And that's not giving up on a play. That's being completely alert. He has that quarter second burst of awareness that I know now he is capable of, because he delivered on it. He didn't just blindly break on that ball quicker than everybody else out of sheer luck. It was his playing with anticipation and alertness.
He's been doing it since Michigan State, man. He's been doing it since MSU. The other play against the Seahawks, where he just looks over at Josh, and he's sitting he's sitting there with Tariq Woolen in his hip pocket, and he's just looking at Josh like, just throw it up. And Josh delivers not a great ball, but Keon makes the play, man. And I just think that you're going to see that develop more because he's going to be on the field more. And I think Josh will learn to trust him, especially in situations where the play starts to break down. And I think he's going to be very instrumental in week 1 again. We've played this team.
When Whittle starts smiling out of the corner of his mouth, I know something good's about to come out.
Listen, we played this team 3 years in a row. Keon Coleman owns Kamari Lassiter. It is what it is. Go pull up the numbers, pull up the film. He owns that. And
this is getting clipped, right?
That's fine. Clip it. Like I want Texans fans. Clip it. Play it, bookmark it, whatever. I'm going to make this as short anyway. Keon Coleman owns Kamari Lassiter. I know DJ Moore is going to draw Stingley. Kamari's going to be on the other boundary. The other boundary is going to be Keon. Week 1.
Curtains? Are we calling curtains?
It's curtains for the Texans, and it's curtains for Kamari Lassiter. You heard it here first. 5 or 6 receptions from Keon. I say he goes over 75 receiving yards, and he has at least 1 touchdown. He might get 2. I think he owns Lassiter. I'm looking forward to that.
Steve, that's what's called getting out your fishing pole, lining up, and giving the Whittle the bait to give me something super hot fire.
Well, I think it right back to that first game in Houston. I think there are bruises and marks and scars from lacerations all over CJ Stroud. And I think this Bills defense being week one, there will be no film on what Jim Leonard is planning. You're not going to see it in the preseason. The preseason's about individual performances, and they're going to mess Stroud up because there's a hangover from playing like that in the playoffs. It's you look at example after example of that, and he was abominable in the playoffs, was CJ Stroud. And the Bills are going to climb all over them, and then they're going to have something for that. They'll diffuse that defense, and I think the Bills, go and win that game. And I think the Bills go on and win the next three. I think Bills go 4-0 out the gate. They're going to win out there, and then they're going to be at home for those three games. And I think they go 4-0. I think it's a big start for them. I'm not as worried about the quarterback gauntlet as some others are, but I think it starts in Houston, and it starts with this attitude of, okay, this is not happening again. This is no longer a house of horrors. I think the Bills are going to be just fine.
Man, let me just say this. Let me just say this. When I look at that Texans game, and when the schedule came out, I said we were going to beat the Texans because it was week one. Three of the top five starters, three of the five starters on the offensive line for the Texans are brand new to the team. They will not put all those guys on the field together at the same time in the preseason.
Certainly not.
You just don't want to risk the injury, right? Right tackle, Braden Smith, coming over from Indianapolis, really good player. I think just what you said, Ralph, that you don't have any film on what these guys are going to do. You know it's going to be different than what McDermott did. So they're going to be coming after him. He has to now redevelop chemistry with Nico Collins at game speed and Tank Dell at game speed. And it's week one. You think Tank Dell's playing you think Tank Dell and CJ Stroud are going to be in the field together for more than a series or two in the preseason? I don't think so. I don't think Tank Dell plays in the preseason. I don't think Nico Collins plays in the preseason. So they're gonna have to develop that. They're gonna have to develop that through practice and through and when they get on the field in week one. And I mean, they practicing against the best defense in football. But at the end of the day, I just think there's so much change and so much mystery to what's going to happen as far as what the Buffalo Bills do defensively, and then there's so many things that have to get chemistry built on that Texans offense. I think the Bills are going to have. I think the Bills have. This is the best chance for them to take down the Texans that they've had since we beat them 40-0.
I like when you're bold. I like when you're bold, and I think it's starting to feel like we're getting that energy back, like we're ready to go.
Yeah. I got the Bills going. I got the Bills winning that first game. I'm not too sure about the game two, but for sure, game one.
How much grace?
I've already put money down on this one.
How much grace will you give Jim Leonard through the first four games?
Tons. Like I'm giving him this first season.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, and we don't know if it's gamesmanship. He's mentioned on at least one occasion about it might take a year to get some of the people we want into place. But on the other hand, I think they've been so intentional on the guys that they have brought in terms of attitude, in terms of aggressiveness, and both the free agents and the draft choices. And I believe what he's creating. I'll give it some grace for sure. I mean, he's just getting started with this. I mean, and by grace, I'm talking about, well, maybe a couple of times somebody gets behind them, but I have a feeling that they are going to be pretty intimidating from the get-go. And I think there's a belief on the team that they're going to go out and win. I don't think there's any feeling on the club at all that this is going to be dicey to get started. I don't hear that from anyone, where you might not expect to hear that from guys on a team anyway, because they're going into it believing. But I just think there's an attitude on this that it's going to be all right, and the Bills are just fine with some of the national press kind of, fading them a little bit. And basing so much of what they think about the upcoming Bills and what they did in 2025. And it's like, this is going to be different this
Categorically.
season. Different.
I think all the cards are lining up in that if Josh Allen's comments reign true, that he really has to dial in because of pressures coming from different places, stunts coming on the defensive line, disguised coverage. The Ducks are really getting lined up in that. He's probably not going to show a ton in preseason. So you have an element of surprise there because he's a new DC. And then if Josh Allen's comments reign true, where he sees it every day and he still has to really, really dial in at a time like OTAs to identify where the pressure is coming from, where the Bell safeties are, those are 2 1-2 punches of nothing really on film and the unpredictability when you do fall into a rhythm where he can suck you out of that rhythm by showing you a completely different look while still in the same condensed personnel. I think kind of a Houdini act of unpredictability, but consistent pressure really has an opportunity to be an identity of which we can succeed from.
Absolutely. I think if it's not abundantly clear now, it's going to be not too deeply into the season that Leonard is out on the forefront leading edge of modern NFL defense, and these are really ideas that Rex had years back, talking about hybrid players. They spoke of it more, and having a guy that's like a glorified safety or whatever it may be. And I think it's more now where you've heard the term positionless. You kind of saw a little bit of that with Denver. I think it's going to be ever more so with what the Bills are getting set up.
And the best part is he, from a drawing from his own player standpoint and his own player experience, he comes from a traditional system of which is ingrained in his experience. Yet it's almost like I would entrust on him to build upon the traditional threat of defense with the nuance of positionless football, like you so eloquently stated.
I mentioned earlier in the show before you're on, you go check out the book Collision Low Crossers, Nick Dawidoff. He was with the Jets for the 2011 season. I mean, the combine, all OTAs, he had a locker, he had an office, he had keys to the place. And Jim Leonard was part of that defense and really the brains of, and this is Rex's defense. Leonard kept volumes, notebooks full, page after page of notes on this defense. And in fact, when in 2010, a lot of people won't remember that far back, but the Jets went to the AFC Championship 2 years in a row. When they went in 2010, they had lost to the Patriots a few weeks before, 45-3. And it was because Leonard wasn't on the field with them. And then they beat the Patriots in the divisional round 28-21. And that was when basically, Leonard had come with Rex after being in Buffalo as an undrafted free agent. He moves on to Baltimore, where Rex is the defensive coordinator under Brian Billick. Rex was at his best as a DC there, of course. Then Rex gets the job and goes to coach the Jets, and Leonard follows him there. So for 4 years, Jim Leonard essentially studied at the school of Rex, and which is really
the school. It's really the school buddy.
Thank you. We're thinking the same again. Exactly. And that's the defense that except I think it's Rex, but it's like, Rex V, I don't know what, V10. I mean, based on what Leonard did at Wisconsin,
That's a good pun because that he is from the Big Ten.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think he took what he learned at the School of Recs. He developed it further at Wisconsin. He got adapted a bit to the NFL once he got in, and now he's at the Bills. And I think what they're going to build there is, and I think that'll, as much as the offense is really going to be interesting, much more prolific passing and so forth, the story of a successful Bills season is going to be the intimidating bunch of dogs this defense
imposing your will.
Yeah. Apex predators, not trying to prevent and react and protect, attacking. And that's the whole idea. Attack.
Well, hopefully when he was in the School of Recs, he didn't take recess break with him and go outside and start staring at feet. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, that was so weird, man. Jesus. Like, what?
Yeah, the foot fetish thing.
Yeah,
some
things are just something TMI, too much information.
At some point you gotta be like, yo, hand up, that's on me. So actually, you know what? I can't do it. That's
in the book. That's in the book.
Foot up, that's on me.
Then they have the story about Rex. One time he used to like to go to the refrigerator late at night when they were working game plans, and he'd open up the jar of peanut butter and get a big spoon and just spoon a big glob of peanut butter.
I believe the quote was, "Let's go eat a goddamn snack."
Let's go eat a goddamn snack. Exactly. Well, one night they had cameras set up and they super glued the jar, the lid on the jar of peanut butter, and Rex is working on it. He finally gives up, but they got the whole thing on.
Man, that is the one beautiful thing about training camp, man. Just in recanting my college days, is just the bond and the camaraderie is so solidified in going through the misery together. I mean, Whittle, you were in the Army. Going through the suck is able to solidify and iron such. It's almost like trauma bonding, but like for a greater cause and purpose. You're kind of bagging what I'm breaking?
Yeah, no, I am. And the trauma bonding thing is funny because, like, when you're in it, it's like, Jesus, like, why,
It's like you got to embrace the suck.
Yeah. I'd rather be anywhere but here. And then when it's over, you're like, man, it wasn't as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
I do that often with basic training. I won't go back, though. It's over with.
You tweeted out something great, just like a side point about just social commentary about like the reason you have what you have is because like you were in the military or whatever. And the one guy is like, yeah, dude, no shit. You think I did this shit for fun? I was howling at that, Whittle, because I was picturing it in your voice. I was just like, so guys, I got nothing more. This has been fantastic, by the way.
Awesome. Just awesome. I love this. So I will be back whenever the opportunity presents itself.
Don't tempt us with a good time.
Yeah, that'll be next week. That'll be next week at 9 p.m. for sure.
Whittle, I'll leave it to you to send them off. All right.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for coming again, coming back, coming to view us at the gosh, I'm like dead to the world right now. Jesus. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Coast to Coast. I am your host, Whittle 2K. My co-host, Beyond 716, is not here. Tonight we were joined by the Ralph, our good friend Steve, who will be back next week as we preview training camp. The rookies are reporting. We'll talk a little bit more Bills football, and we'll get into some of the season stuff. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. Come back next week, like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next weekend or next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Go Bills.
Let's do it. Be good, do good, God bless, and go Bills.